A very good morning to all. I am Manika Malhotra on behalf of Policy Perspectives Foundation and National Institute of Disaster Management have immense pleasure to welcome our esteemed resource persons and dear participants to the final day of the online training program on child-centric disaster risk reduction. Past 2 days, as we know, were packed with valuable information and fruitful discussions. Diverse subjects have been covered so far, ranging from do's and don'ts in COVID-19 in regards to COVID-19, mental health of children in the time of disaster, basic concepts of disaster risk management, and introduction to CCDRR, which emphasized on the need to actively involve children in the DRR activities. Briefing about the technical session scheduled for the day. We have 2 sessions scheduled for the day, and every key session will be succeeded by a question answer session. Participants may kindly share their questions in the question answer box, which will be taken up after the session. We hope that the participants will make out most of the last day of the program and utilize this opportunity to clear any doubts or queries they have in their mind. First day of the session is on the subject disaster impact on children. I would like to welcome Mr. Ranjan Kumar, who has over 12 years of experience in core risk reduction, integration of DRR and climate change adaptation, policy planning and strategy in emergency response, training and capacity building, research and data analysis. He brings with him the rare combination of exposure variation from grassroots to national level. Mr. Kumar is currently working as a program associate in National Institute of Disaster Management. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Thank you, Monica. वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल जो आज का जो मेरा सेशन में है मोस्ट जो टॉपिक है मेरे सेशन का इम्पैक्ट ऑफ डिजास्टर ऑन चिल्ड्रंस और उसमें आज मैं कवर जो करूँगा उसमें लाइफ साइकिल अप्रोच डिफरेंट लाइफ साइकिल अप्रोच ऑफ चिल्ड्रन में किस तरह से डिजास्टर इम्पैक्ट का असर पड़ता है। तो जो प्रीवियस क्लासेज में बहुत सारे डिस्कशन हुए हैं, जो प्रीवियस क्लासेज में हैजार्ड के बारे में या रिस्क के बारे में, वल्नरेबिलिटी के, तो यहाँ जो मैं बेसिकली डिस्कस करूँगा कि किस तरह से डिजास्टर है जो बच्चे के डिफरेंट सेक्टोरल जो इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है उसके हेल्थ पे, उसके एजुकेशन पे, उसके मेंटल हेल्थ पे, उसके फिजिकल हेल्थ पे। तो इस तो चाइल्ड प्रोटेक्शन इश्यू को भी मैं कवर करूँगा, किस तरह से बच्चे जो है इस आपदा में अगर प्रभावित होते हैं तो उसका क्या असर पड़ता है उसके फैमिली पर, उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट उसके प्रोटेक्शन पर भी पड़ता है। ये सारी चीज़ें आज मैं डिस्कस करूँगा। तो मैं एक बार फिर से वेरी गुड मॉर्निंग टू ऑल पार्टिसिपेंट करता हूँ और इसके साथ ही मैं अपना प्रेजेंटेशन, अगर राका सर परमिशन दे तो मैं अपना प्रेजेंटेशन स्टार्ट करूँ। सर राका सर।
Yes, Ranjan, you go ahead, please.
Sir, my presentation is visible, sir?
Yes, sir, it's visible.
सबसे पहला जो मिनिस्ट्री का गाइडलाइन है हमारे यहाँ, जो कि अभी कोविड-19 का हम लोग ऑल अवेयर हैं कि किस तरह से न्यू वेरिएंट आए हैं और उसका क्या असर हमारे कम्युनिटी पे या हमारे कंट्री में किस तरह से वो स्प्रेड कर रहा है ऑल ओवर इंडिया में। और जो नया जो वेरिएंट आया उसका जो फ्रीक्वेंसी है स्प्रेड होने का बहुत ज़्यादा है। तो ये जो हमारे जो मिनिस्ट्री के गाइडलाइन के अनुसार हम लोग को इस पर बहुत ज़्यादा ध्यान देना है कि हमें हमेशा जो बिहेवियर चेंज की बात करते हैं, अप्रोप्रिएट बिहेवियर चेंज के, इसको अपने आप को हर लेवल पर अवश्य इसको फॉलो करें, जिससे कि आने वाला जो रिस्क है जो कोविड-19 का जो डिफरेंट है उसको हम कम कर सकें और उससे अपने को भी सुरक्षित रख सकें और अपने फैमिली को भी सुरक्षित रखें। जैसे सही तरीके से मास्क लगाना है, हाथ डेली बाहर से भी आए तो अपने हाथों को, दोनों हाथों को साबुन से धोना, आँख नाक कान मुंह को हमेशा नहीं छुएं, उससे बचें। और सोशल डिस्टेंसिंग की बात जो हो रही थी उसको भी हम इस जो जितने भी गाइडलाइन दिए गए हैं उसको मिनिस्ट्री को हम फॉलो करें। तब इसके साथ ही मैं अपना जो टॉपिक है डिजास्टर इम्पैक्ट ऑन चिल्ड्रन की किस तरह से है जो बच्चे डिफरेंट डिजास्टर में प्रभावित होते हैं, बहुत सारे ऐसे एग्जाम्पल आपको जो लास्ट 2 डिकेड में डिजास्टर हुए हैं उसमें अगर देखा जाए तो अगर 2000 से लेकर 2019 तक इंडिया में 301 डिजास्टर हुए हैं, जिसमें से ज़्यादातर जो डिजास्टर मेगा डिजास्टर हुए, जैसे सुनामी 2004 की बात करें और 2000 से एवं बच्चे वहाँ प्रभावित होते। तो एनी डिजास्टर में, एनी टाइप ऑफ डिजास्टर, चिल्ड्रेन आर डायरेक्टली अफेक्टेड बाई डिजास्टर्स, चाहे वो साइक्लोन हो, चाहे वो फ्लड हो, चाहे अर्थक्वेक हो। कहीं ना कहीं बच्चे जो है ज़्यादा प्रभावित होते हैं ये एडल्ट की तुलना में, क्योंकि बच्चे की जो डिपेंडेंसी है उनके पेरेंट्स पर पड़ती है। हर एज के बच्चे का अपना अलग है, उसका इम्पैक्ट होता है डिजास्टर का। 0 से 1 ईयर का या देख लें, या उसके ऊपर 1 to 3 ईयर के एज के बच्चे का अलग, उनका डिजास्टर का एक अलग प्रभाव पड़ता है। तो कहीं ना कहीं डिजास्टर जहाँ भी देख होता है उसका डायरेक्टली इम्पैक्ट है जो बच्चे पे पड़ता है, या तो बच्चे अपने माता पिता से अलग हो जाते हैं। डिजास्टर ऑल्सो सेपरेट चिल्ड्रन फ्रॉम देयर फैमिली इनके, एज फॉर एग्जाम्पल ड्यूरिंग द फ्लड सिचुएशन। आई वॉज द डिस्ट्रिक्ट प्रोजेक्ट ऑफिसर इनको ड्यूरिंग द कोसी फ्लड 2008 है। मैंने वहाँ देखा था कि बहुत सारे बच्चे जो अपने माता पिता से अलग हो गए, या तो अपने माता पिता को उन्होंने उस फ्लड में खो दिया, या अपने पेरेंट्स से मास डिस्प्लेसमेंट के कारण अपने माता पिता से होते। तो कहीं ना कहीं फैमिली से जब बच्चे सेपरेट होते हैं उसका असर उनके हेल्थ पे, उनके डे टू डे रूटीन पे, उनके ग्रोथ पे डायरेक्टली इम्पैक्ट करता है। इसके अलावा अगर देखते हैं डिजास्टर में, तो जो अगर मेगा डिजास्टर होता है या तो ज़्यादातर चांसेस होते हैं कि जो क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात, तो डैमेज टू क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर विच आर द वाइटल टू चिल्ड्रन सर्वाइवल। जो बच्चे के सर्वाइवल के लिए जो क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जरूरी है वो बुरी तरह से प्रभावित होते हैं आपदा में। जैसे क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर की बात करें तो मेडिकल सर्विसेज हो गया, मेडिकल हॉस्पिटल, पब्लिक हेल्थ सर्विसेज, आंगनबाड़ी या स्कूल, या हम बात करें रोड या ट्रांसपोर्ट, जितने भी इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर हैं ये पूरी तरह से अगर डैमेज होते हैं तो उसका डायरेक्ट प्रभाव उसका प्रभाव बच्चों पर भी पड़ता है, क्योंकि ये बच्चे के सर्वाइवल के लिए बहुत ज़रूरी है। इसके अलावा अगर हम देखें एक डाटा, यूनिसेफ का एक रिपोर्ट, अभी रिसेंट रिपोर्ट 2021 में आया है अगस्त में, उसमें देखा गया तो वर्ल्ड वाइड अगर देखें तो डिजास्टर में जितने भी बच्चे प्रभावित होते हैं, डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ डिजास्टर, यहाँ अगर देख रहे हैं स्लो ऑनसेट चेंज डिजास्टर से, या सडन मॉडरेटली सडन ओवर ऑनसेट डिजास्टर। स्लो ऑनसेट डिजास्टर मतलब ड्राउट हो गया है, या जो धीरे धीरे जिसका प्रभाव पड़ता है। और सडन डिजास्टर की बात करें तो सडन डिजास्टर में अगर हम लेते हैं तो उसमें ज़्यादातर अर्थक्वेक की बात करते हैं, या लैंडस्लाइड की बात, या इन्वायरमेंट डिग्रेडेशन स्टेज, जितने भी अभी तक का जो अगस्त 2001 में जो रिपोर्ट यूनिसेफ का आया है उसमें देखा गया है कि वर्ल्ड वाइड जो अगर हीट वेव से जो प्रभावित हुए हैं 820 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन है जो हीट वेव से प्रभावित, जिसमें 1/3 ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन, जिसमें 1/3 of this is likely to worsen global average temperature increase and weather pattern become more erratic. 2020 was tied hottest year on the record. तो हीट वेव के कारण जो बच्चे हैं 820 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन बच्चे प्रभावित हुए ग्लोबली। और उसी तरह से अगर साइक्लोन की बात करें तो 400 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन वर्ल्ड वाइड प्रभावित हुए हैं डिफरेंट साइक्लोन में। और इस तरह से जो ड्यू टू द इंक्रीज इन फ्रीक्वेंसी एंड देयरफॉर इंटेंसिटी ऑफ साइक्लोन, जो पैटर्न शिफ्ट हुआ है क्लाइमेट चेंज के कारण, उसका प्रभाव ज़्यादातर फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ जो साइक्लोन आने के जो फ्रीक्वेंसी ऑफ साइक्लोन है वो बढ़ गया, जिसके कारण बच्चे साइक्लोन में भी बहुत सारे मास डिस्प्लेसमेंट के कारण या डिफरेंट साइक्लोन के कारण ज़्यादा प्रभावित हो रहे हैं। तो 400 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन जो अभी तक का जो डाटा है, अगर ग्लोबल डाटा देखें अगर ग्लोबल, तो 400 मिलियन है जो साइक्लोन से प्रभावित हो। इसके अलावा अगर रिवराइन फ्लड की बात करें तो ऑल ओवर जो ग्लोबली अगर देखें तो 330 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन है जो प्रभावित हुए हैं रिवराइन फ्लड से या डिफरेंट टाइप ऑफ फ्लड से। इसी तरह से अगर देखें तो वाटर स्कार्सिटी का जो ड्राउट केसेज में ज़्यादातर देखा जाता है, तो 920 मिलियन चिल्ड्रन जो है ओवर 1/3 ऑफ द चिल्ड्रन ग्लोबली जो है जिनको कि वाटर से की कमी के कारण ज़्यादा प्रभावित हो रहे हैं। तो इस तरह से जो डाटा बेस दिया गया है यूनिसेफ का जो अभी रिसेंट डाटा जो आया है रिपोर्ट, उसमें किस तरह से बच्चे हैं जो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट डिजास्टर में प्रभावित होते हैं, या हीट वेव या साइक्लोन या फ्लड की बात करें या पॉल्यूशन से भी देख रहे हैं कि जो अभी रिसेंट एग्जाम्पल अब दिल्ली का देख रहे हैं, ज़्यादातर बच्चे हैं जो पॉल्यूशन के शिकार हो रहे हैं, उनके कारण उनको डिफरेंट स्वास्थ्य में प्रॉब्लम आ रही है, डिफरेंट तरह के इशू क्रिएट हो रहे हैं उनके अंदर। तो ये सारी चीज़ें अगर देखते हैं तो कहीं ना कहीं डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है, जो आपदा का जो इम्पैक्ट है और डायरेक्ट बच्चे पे पड़ता है, बच्चे के हेल्थ पे पड़ता है, बच्चे के एजुकेशन पे पड़ता है। तो उसको किस तरह से रिड्यूस किया जाए, एक मेन स्ट्रेटजी है कि किस तरह से उसको कम किया जाए। तो अगर नेक्स्ट अगर देखें सेक्टर हम यहाँ पर हम डिस्कस करें किस तरह से सेक्टर वाइज है जो डिजास्टर इम्पैक्ट करता है बच्चों को। तो सबसे पहला अगर देखेंगे तो रूटीन लाइफ पर किस तरह से प्रभावित होता है किसी भी आपदा में। तो सब ऐसे नॉर्मल पोजीशन नॉर्मल समय में अगर देखते हैं तो बच्चे का एक अपना रूटीन वर्क होता है। सुबह वो वेकअप करते हैं, उसके बाद वो फिर रिफ्रेश होकर अपने स्कूल को जाते हैं, फिर वापस स्कूल में एक उनका एक टाइम लाइन होता है, उस टाइम लाइन के अनुसार अपने आप को हैबिचुएट हो जाते हैं। लेकिन अगर यही इमरजेंसी सिचुएशन में अगर देखें या रिसेंट एग्जाम्पल अगर कोविड-19 की बात करें, कोविड-19 के समय में अगर देखें तो स्कूल क्लोज डाउन के कारण बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है उनका जो रूटीन लाइफ है पूरी तरह से प्रभावित हुआ है। बच्चे पूरी तरह से रूटीन को मेंटेन नहीं कर रहे हैं, उनको मिड डे नहीं मिल रहा है, उनका जो स्कूल टाइमिंग था जी स्कूल जाने का उनका ऑनलाइन क्लासेस नहीं हो पा रहा है। तो ये सारे जो इम्पैक्ट है उनका रूटीन जो डे टू डे उसके फिजिकल हेल्थ पे, उसके मेंटल हेल्थ पे को प्रभावित कर रहा है और उसका लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट देखने को मिल रहा है। बहुत सारे बच्चे ऑनलाइन नहीं करने के कारण सुसाइड भी कर ले रहे हैं। तो इसका प्रभाव जब डिजास्टर की बात करते हैं तो डायरेक्टली बच्चे के रूटीन लाइफ पर, चाहे वो फ्लड है, अगर आज फॉर एग्जांपल में कोसी फ्लड की बात करें तो जितने भी स्कूल जो हैं उस समय कोसी फ्लड जो ज़्यादातर स्कूल जो मधेपुरा में जब मैं उस समय काम कर रहा था तो जितने भी स्कूल थे वो ज़्यादातर लो लाइन एरिया में बस इस्टेब्लिश थे, लोकेटेड थे, जिसके कारण उसमें जो वाटर लॉगिंग से ज़्यादा प्रभावित हुआ था, जिसके कारण बच्चे का जो एजुकेशन है, जो रूटीन लाइफ है पूरी तरह से नहीं हुआ। मास डिस्प्लेसमेंट हैपन होता है भी डिजास्टर में। तो ये सारी चीज़ें अगर देखते हैं कि पहला तो इम्पैक्ट अगर देखते हैं तो उनका सेक्टोरल इम्पैक्ट में तो बच्चे के रूटीन लाइफ पर प्रभाव पड़ता है। दूसरा अगर बात करें किसी भी डिजास्टर में फिजिकली या तो अर्थक्वेक हो या फ्लड हो या साइक्लोन हो, ज़्यादातर चांसेज होते हैं फिजिकल बच्चे जो हाईली वल्नरेबल होते हैं और उनका हेल्थ इशू जो मेजर इशू है, ज़्यादातर फिजिकल हेल्थ की बात करते हैं तो या तो बच्चे उसमें इंजर्ड हो सकते हैं या उसमें मारे जा सकते हैं। या फ्लड के केस में अगर देखें तो बच्चे अगर तैरना नहीं जानते हैं तो उसमें फ्लड में से प्रभावित हो सकते हैं। तो ये सारी चीज़ें डिफरेंट वे ऑफ इम्पैक्ट है जो डिजास्टर का देखने को मिलता है डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में, इन डिजास्टर अफेक्टेड एरिया में। तो चिल्ड्रेन हेल्थ में भी है मोर वल्नरेबल इन डिजास्टर फॉर ए बायोफिजिकल रीजन्स। ये जो आप पिक्चर में जो देख रहे हैं ये एक जो है भूज earthquake के समय के 2001 जो भूज earthquake की बात करें तो वहाँ पे अबाउट 1000 बच्चे जो है मारे गए थे और उसमें बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जो फिजिकली इंजर्ड हुए थे और बहुत सारे बच्चे उसमें मेंटली डिस्टर्ब हुए थे। तो ये जो देखा जाता है कि कहीं ना कहीं जो फिजिकल हेल्थ पर किस तरह से डिजास्टर जो फिजिकल हेल्थ पर किस तरह बच्चे को किस तरह से प्रभावित करता है। सॉरी जस्ट चिल्ड्रेन में भी इंजर्ड और किल्ड। ये डिजास्टर के सिचुएशन में बच्चे या तो इंजर्ड होते हैं या अपने मारे जाते हैं। तो इस तरह का सिचुएशन अगर हम देखें तो बच्चे बहुत। इसके अलावा एक और जो डिजास्टर के सिचुएशन में देखने को मिलता है जो बच्चे का जो इनटेक है कैलोरी प्रॉपर सप्लाई ऑफ फूड के कारण, लैक ऑफ प्रॉपर सप्लाई ऑफ फूड के कारण क्या होता है कि एसेंशियल जो न्यूट्रिएंट्स फूड हैं बच्चे को नहीं मिल पाते हैं। स्पेशली इन फ्लड अफेक्टेड एरिया या डिजास्टर अफेक्टेड एरिया की बात करते हैं तो वहाँ पे प्रॉपर लैक ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ फूड मटेरियल या न्यूट्रिशियस फूड के सप्लाई के कारण बच्चे का जो हेल्थ है, बच्चे का ग्रोथ, बच्चे का डेवलपमेंट बुरी तरह से प्रभावित होता है। प्रीवियस स्लाइड में प्रीवियस सेशन में ऑलरेडी डिस्कस किए होंगे डॉक्टर वालों कि किस तरह से जो 2005 से लेकर 2015 जो ड्राउट आंध्रा और कर्नाटक में हुआ था, जिसमें बच्चों के या तो स्टंटिंग के शिकार हुए थे और वेस्टिंग के शिकार हुए थे। तो इस तरह से अगर ड्राउट के केस में देखें तो बच्चों को अगर प्रॉपर फूड या प्रॉपर लैक ऑफ वाटर अगर नहीं मिल पाता है तो उसके डायरेक्ट उसके हेल्थ पे पड़ता है असर और उसकी ग्रोथ पे पड़ता है, उसके डेवलपमेंट पे पड़ता है। तो ये इफेक्ट एक फिजिकल इफेक्ट देखें। इसके अलावा बात करते हैं कि डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में ज़्यादातर देखते हैं कि जितने भी मेडिकल सर्विसेज इंस्टीट्यूशन है, मेडिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर है, या पब्लिक हेल्थ सेक्टर की बात करें या आंगनबाड़ी की बात करें, पूरी तरह से कट ऑफ हो जाते हैं, पूरी तरह से अगर डैमेज हो जाते हैं तो प्रॉपर जो सर्वाइवल के लिए बच्चे को सर्वाइवल के लिए जो मेडिकल केयर मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं मिल पाता है। अगर बच्चे किसी डिजास्टर में इंजर्ड होते हैं या बच्चे बीमार हो जाते हैं तो उसको पूरी तरह से जो क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर लॉस के कारण वो जो सुविधाएं हैं, वो जो मेडिकल प्रॉपर सर्विसेज जो टाइमली सर्विसेज जो मिलनी चाहिए वो नहीं मिल पाती है। इसके अलावा कुछ बच्चे ऐसे भी होते हैं जिनको पहले से कुछ हेल्थ का प्रॉब्लम है, तो उस डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में या फ्लड के सिचुएशन में अगर पब्लिक हेल्थ सेंटर अच्छी तरह से काम नहीं कर रहा है तो उनको मेडिकल सर्विसेज नहीं मिल पाती है और जिसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट उसके लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है उसके हेल्थ पे। इसके अलावा बच्चे बहुत सारे जो बच्चे हैं प्रॉपर सप्लाई ऑफ डिसरप्शन ऑफ फूड के कारण, फूड सप्लाई के कारण जो बच्चे माल न्यूट्रिशन के शिकार हो जाते हैं। तो इस तरह से अगर हम देखें तो बच्चे को किस तरह से डिजास्टर हेल्थ पे, बच्चे के रूटीन लाइफ पे को प्रभावित करता है। अभी कोविड-19 के सिचुएशन में अगर देखें तो बहुत से जो सारे बच्चे जो हैं, खास करके माइग्रेंट लेबर के बच्चे हैं जिनके अपने माता पिता का जो उनका लाइवलीहुड, जो उनका इनकम का जो सोर्स था, अगर वो पूरी तरह से डिस्टर्ब हो गया है जिसके कारण बच्चे को 2 टाइम का जो भोजन मिलना चाहिए वो नहीं मिल। बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है अपने फैमिली को के सपोर्ट के लिए उनको चाइल्ड लेबर के रूप में काम करना पड़ा है। बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जो दूसरे के घरों में काम करने के लिए रीइंफोर्स किए जा रहे हैं। तो इसका कहीं ना कहीं असर अगर देखा जाए तो डिफरेंट डिफरेंट डिजास्टर का डिफरेंट डिफरेंट एरिया में जो लेवल पर असर देखने को मिलता है। अब जो हम जात खास करके अभी हम जो बात कर रहे थे, ड्राउट की बात कर रहे थे, आंध्रा और कर्नाटका की बात करके कि एक यूनिसेफ की स्टडी आई थी जिसमें 2005 से लेकर 2015 तक बेस्ट कर्नाटका और आंध्रा में बहुत सारे बच्चे प्रभावित हुए थे ड्यू टू लैक ऑफ प्रॉपर सप्लाई ऑफ फूड या न्यूट्रिशियस फूड या लैक ऑफ सप्लाई ऑफ वाटर, और जिसके कारण बहुत सारे बच्चे जो है स्टंटिंग के शिकार हुए थे। उसमें 26.1% जो है आंध्रा में और जो 29.1% है जो कर्नाटका में प्रभावित हुए थे उस ड्राउट में। और उसका असर इतना ज़्यादा था कि बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं जिनका जो नॉर्मल ग्रोथ होना चाहिए था, जिनका जो एज के अनुसार उनका जो डेवलपमेंट होना चाहिए था, पूरी तरह से प्रभावित हुआ था। और इसका तो इस तरह से हम देखते हैं कि बच्चे जो प्रभावित होते हैं, तो यहाँ पर हम चाइल्डहुड इंडिकेटर की बात करेंगे। स्टंटिंग किसको कहते हैं? तो स्टंटिंग सीमा सोलंकी रेज हैंड्स। Stunting means failure to grow adequately in height, an indication of malnutrition। मतलब बच्चे का जो ग्रोथ है उसके हाइट के अनुसार अगर नहीं होता है तो ये इसको हम स्टंटिंग के कैटेगरी में रखते हैं। और हाइट फॉर एज के अनुसार बच्चे की हाइट जो होना चाहिए उसको हम मेजर करते हैं स्टंटिंग के हिसाब से। और बीइंग अंडरवेंट मेजर बाय द वेट फॉर एज, अगर एज के अनुसार बच्चे का वेट कम है तो उसको हम अंडर वेट की कैटेगरी में कंसीडर करते हैं। और वेस्टिंग की बात करते हैं तो वेस्टिंग मेजर्ड बाय द वेट फॉर हाइट, और बच्चे के हाइट जो है उसके वेट के अनुसार अगर नहीं है तो वो वेस्टिंग की कैटेगरी में। तो ये इंडिकेटर से हम कहीं भी अगर ड्राउट एरिया में या कहीं भी जाते हैं तो इस इंडिकेटर को यूज करके हम उसके ग्रोथ, उसके डेवलपमेंट को हम मेजर कर सकते हैं और उसके हिसाब से जो प्लानिंग या स्ट्रेटजी करना है उसको हम बना सकते हैं। तो कॉज बाय शिफ्ट इन कंजप्शन और डिक्रीज इन फूड सप्लाई अमंग द, और ये जो वेस्टिंग और स्टंटिंग का जो इम्पैक्ट है ये जनरली जो आपदा पर इफेक्टेड एरिया हो या डिजास्टर प्रभावित एरिया हो वहाँ पे पूरा कंजम्पशन और फूड सप्लाई अगर पूरा अच्छी तरह से नहीं हो तो मेजर कारण है वहाँ पे कि प्रॉपर फूड सप्लाई का नहीं होना। जैसे अभी बहुत सारे बच्चे हैं इंडिया में जो अभी कोविड-19 स्कूल अभी अब बहुत दिनों से स्कूल बंद होने के कारण उनको मिड डे मील नहीं मिल पा रहा था, जिसके कारण जितने भी बच्चे हैं उनको उनके जो हेल्थ पे मिड डे नहीं न्यूट्रिशियस फूड नहीं मिलने के कारण उनसे उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट उसके ग्रोथ पे उसके डेवलपमेंट पे देखने को मिला है। और इसमें यूनिसेफ और बहुत सारे एजेंसी काम कर रही है कि किस तरह से उनको इस तरह मिड डे मील को फिर से उसको रीएस्टैब्लिश किया जाए, तो उसको ध्यान में रखने के लिए तो एक जो इंडिकेटर जो है इसके से हम और यहाँ पे हम पिक्चर में देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह से बच्चे को अगर पूरी तरह से न्यूट्रिशियस फूड नहीं मिल पाता है और बच्चे को जो फूड सप्लाई या वाटर की सुविधाएं और जो भी विटामिन वगैरह अगर समय टाइमली जो सर्विसेज जिसकी बात करते हैं टाइमली सर्विसेज अगर नहीं मिल पाती है तो बच्चे के ग्रोथ पर किस तरह से असर पड़ता है। अगर बच्चे को ये पूरी नॉर्मल पोजीशन में अगर देखें तो बच्चे का एक नॉर्मल हाइट होता है, नॉर्मल उसका वेट होता है जिसमें कि उसके हेड लेकिन जब अगर डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में अगर देखें या डिजास्टर प्रभावित एरिया में अगर देखें तो वहाँ पर ज़्यादातर बच्चे ड्यू टू प्रॉपर सप्लाई फूड या जो भी सुविधाएं जो टाइमली सर्विसेज मिलने चाहिए न्यूट्रिशन की या हेल्थ की या वाटर एंड सैनिटेशन की, अगर ये सब सारी सुविधाएं नहीं मिलती है तो उसके कारण क्या होता है, या तो बच्चे का जो है काफ़ी थिनर देखने को जैसे फर्स्ट पिक्चर में देख रहे हैं कि बच्चा बहुत थिन है, उसके बाद तो वेस्टेज के कारण उसके हाइट के अनुसार उसके जो वेट होना चाहिए वो नहीं बड़ा इंक्रीज कर पा रहा है। उसी तरह से अगर सेकंड पिक्चर के में देखें तो बच्चा ज़्यादा छोटा है नॉर्मल से, लेकिन उसका है जो शॉर्टर देन नॉर्मल है, तो ये स्टंट है उसका हाइट के अनुसार उसका जो लंबाई होना चाहिए एज के अनुसार जो उसका लंबाई होना चाहिए वो अगर नहीं बढ़ पा रहा है तो वो शॉर्टर स्टंट है। और किसी किसी में ये भी देखा है कि दोनों तरह के वेस्टेड और स्टंट दोनों के अंदर थिनर भी है और शॉर्टर भी है। तो ये इंडिकेटर अगर हम यूज करते हैं तो ये जनरली खास करके ड्राउट पे इफेक्टेड एरिया में ज़्यादा देखा जाता है, बच्चे के अंदर इस तरह के इशूज ज़्यादा पाए जाते हैं। तो इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए हमें क्या करना है उसकी स्ट्रेटजी भी बनाना होगा। ये हमारे पास एक डाटा है जिसमें हमने दिखाया है कि हर स्टेट में किस तरह से डिफरेंट डिजास्टर में कितने बच्चे प्रभावित हुए हैं, और इसमें जो सबसे ज़्यादा जो हम देख रहे हैं कि भूज earthquake के समय में अबाउट 4000 बच्चे जो हैं इसमें प्रभावित हुए लॉस्ट नंबर ऑफ चिल्ड्रेन जो प्रभावित हुए 4878 जो चिल्ड्रेन है उसमें डाइड मारे गए हैं। उसी तरह से अगर सुनामी के यहाँ पे डाटाबेस देखते हैं कि 2004 की बात करते हैं तो वहाँ पर 2358 चिल्ड्रेन है जो इस सुनामी में मारे गए थे, जिन्होंने अपने जानें गंवा दी थी। तो ये सारी चीज़ें अगर देखते हैं तो हम उसी तरह से एक मेजर जो अभी गोरखपुर का एक डाटा है जो BRD मेडिकल कॉलेज गोरखपुर में एक्यूट इंसेफेलाइटिस सिंड्रोम जो हुआ था उसमें ये 1318 चिल्ड्रेन है जो चिल्ड्रेन उसमें प्रभावित हुए थे, उसमें मारे गए थे या उसमें जिनकी जानें चली गई थी। तो इस तरह से देखते हैं कि डिफरेंट डिजास्टर में किस तरह से डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट करता है बच्चे को। नेक्स्ट जस्ट मिनट इसके बाद हम बात करते हैं कि किस तरह से है जो डिजास्टर है जो इफ़ेक्ट करता है बच्चे के स्कूल को, इफेक्ट ऑन स्कूलिंग। तो जनरली डिजास्टर की बात करें चाहे मैं कोई भी डिजास्टर हो, earthquake हो या फ्लड हो या साइक्लोन हो, ज़्यादातर जो क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जैसे स्कूल है, अगर इस लॉस ऑफ स्कूल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर ड्यू टू डिजास्टर अगर होता है तो उसमें ज़्यादातर इम्पैक्ट जो पड़ता है बच्चे का जो लर्निंग मटेरियल है, उसके स्पोर्ट्स ग्राउंड है, वहाँ पे जो लाइब्रेरी है वो पूरी तरह से प्रभावित होता है। बच्चे का टाइमिंग भी पूरी तरह से डिस्टर्ब होता है, जिसके कारण बच्चे का इसको ज़्यादातर जो स्कूल है यूज किए जाते हैं शेल्टर में। यह कोविड-19 के सिचुएशन में बहुत सारे जितने भी गवर्नमेंट स्कूल हैं, बहुत सारे आंध्रा हो चाहे बिहार हो चाहे किसी भी स्टेट की बात करें तो ज़्यादातर जो स्कूल थे वो है जो से उनको बना दिया गया था कोविड सेंटर के रूप में और उसको यूज किया जा रहा था। तो कहीं ना कहीं जो बच्चा का जो स्कूलिंग है किसी भी डिजास्टर में प्रभावित ज़्यादा होता है। इसके अलावा ज़्यादातर चांस होता है लैक ऑफ एक्सेस ऑफ स्कूल, बच्चे ज़्यादातर ड्रॉप आउट के शिकार होते हैं डिजास्टर के सिचुएशन में। अगर रोड डैमेज होता है या कोई कारण या तो एक्सीडेंट के चांसेस ज़्यादा होते हैं, जिससे कि स्कूल टाइम अगर स्कूल जाते हैं बच्चे तो उसका उनको भी ज़्यादा एक्सीडेंट होने की चांसेस हैं और फिजिकल इंजरी होने के ज़्यादा चांसेस हैं। और इसके अलावा बच्चे का जो रिक्रिएशनल एक्टिविटी है, जो बच्चे डिफरेंट डिफरेंट एक्टिविटी में भाग लेते थे अपने स्कूल में, अपने दोस्तों से मिलते थे, अपने बारे में दो आपस में शेयर करते थे, तो वो सारी चीज़ें जो उनका जो एक्टिविटी था वो पूरी तरह से डिसरप्ट होता है। तो इफेक्ट ऑन स्कूलिंग, जैसे जो आप पिक्चर में आप देख रहे हैं कि किस तरह से जो नीचे आपको पिक्चर दिखाई दे रहा होगा, एक सुनामी के टाइम की पिक्चर है और इसमें जो स्कूल बिल्डिंग है पूरी तरह से डैमेज हो गया है और बच्चे हैं जो खुले आसमान में है जो पढ़ाई कर रहे हैं। तो इस तरह से देखते हैं कि जो लॉस ऑफ इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर्स, जो क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर जिसको स्ट्रक्चरल लॉस कहते हैं, स्ट्रक्चरल लॉसेज जितने हैं वो देखने को मिलता है डिजास्टर में, और उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट बच्चे के एजुकेशन पर पड़ता है। और बच्चे अगर स्कूल नहीं जाते हैं तो हमें तो उनका अगर करिकुलम टाइम पर नहीं कंप्लीट होता है तो बच्चे मेंटल हेल्थ के से भी प्रभावित होते हैं, स्ट्रेस में रहते हैं कि किस तरह से हम अपने आप को पढ़ पाएंगे, और उसमें बहुत सारे बच्चे ड्रॉप आउट के भी शिकार हो जाते हैं। तो ये सारी चीज़ें हम जो देख रहे हैं डिजास्टर इम्पैक्ट के कारण होता है। और यहाँ पर अभी कोविड के सिचुएशन में अगर देखें तो इस वर्ल्ड वाइड जो स्कूल क्लोजर हुआ है उसमें नियरली 1.3 मिलियन स्टूडेंट है, जिसमें 70% आउट ऑफ स्कूल ड्रॉप आउट की बात अभी जो हम कर रहे थे। यूनेस्कैप का यूनेस्को का डाटा है, उसमें देखा गया है कि वर्ल्ड वाइड अगर हम देखें तो जो 1.3 बिलियन स्टूडेंट है उसमें से ज़्यादा 72% है जो ड्रॉप आउट के शिकार हुए हैं। तो इस तरह से हम देखते हैं, और ये है जो कहें ये कि जो पिक्चर आपके सामने है इसमें आप गेस कर सकते हैं कि किस डिजास्टर से के कारण बच्चे हैं जो प्रभावित हुए हैं, और जिसमें एक गर्ल चाइल्ड को देख रहे हैं कि फ्लड अफेक्टेड एरिया में है, तो फ्लड में है, कुछ जो है अपने बच्चे जो हैं पेड़ पे बैठे हुए हैं जो अपने आप को रेस्क्यू के लिए वेट कर रहे हैं। तो फ्लड सिचुएशन के समय की बात पिक्चर्स हैं। वन केस स्टडी भी हम आपके बारे में बता सकते हैं कि अभी जो रिसेंट जो फनी साइक्लोन हुआ था और उसमें ज़्यादातर देखें कि एलिमेंट्री स्कूल जो उड़ीसा के जितने भी 5735 स्कूल जो हैं, जिसमें से अगर डाटा दें उड़ीसा गवर्नमेंट का डाटा के अनुसार 14 डिस्ट्रिक्ट में अबाउट 30,000 जितने भी स्कूल थे पूरी तरह से डैमेज हुए थे, और उसका किसी का मतलब रूफ डैमेज हुआ, कहीं पे देर डैमेज हुए, कहीं पर टॉयलेट किचन जो विंडो थे पूरी तरह से जितने भी क्रिटिकल इंफ्रास्ट्रक्चर या स्ट्रक्चर थे पूरी बुरी तरह से प्रभावित हुए थे। और जिसमें ये डाटा जो बेस है जो है उड़ीसा गवर्नमेंट का है, जिसमें कि उन्होंने फनी साइक्लोन के समय में उन्होंने पब्लिश किया था, उसमें पाया गया है कि टोटल 2181 classroom out of which 2098 were severely affected and fully affected due to the फनी साइक्लोन। और इसके अलावा अगर पार्शियली डैमेज की बात करें तो 7601 क्लासरूम है जो डैमेज हुए थे उस साइक्लोन में, फनी साइक्लोन जो हुआ था उसमें। तो इस तरह से हम देखते हैं कि फनी का जो स्टूडेंट ऑफ पुअर हाउस होल्ड विथ कच्चा हाउस है, लॉस्ट बुक्स कॉपी, इस तरह से स्टडी मटेरियल्स एंड यूनिफॉर्म। तो कहीं ना कहीं अगर देखते हैं तो कि किस तरह से डिजास्टर, ये केस स्टडी है जिसमें फनी साइक्लोन की केस स्टडी, जिसमें बच्चे का स्कूल है पूरी तरह से डैमेज हुआ, बच्चे के बुक्स थे या बच्चे के कॉपी या मटेरियल या यूनिफॉर्म पूरी तरह से डैमेज हुए हैं, बुरी तरह से डैमेज हुए हैं। साइक्लोन ऑफ सम स्टूडेंट हैव बीन डैमेज। साइकिल जो बच्चों को दिया जाता है स्कूल में वो पूरी तरह से डैमेज हुआ। तो इस तरह से अब मिड डे मील तो डिसकंटिन्यू हुआ उस फनी के साइक्लोन के समय में। ये सारे इम्पैक्ट हम देखने को मिलता है इस जितने ये नेक्स्ट। अब नेक्स्ट बात करते हैं जो सेक्टोरल डैमेज की बात करते हैं, उसमें वाटर एंड सैनिटेशन भी एक बहुत इम्पॉर्टेंट इंडिकेटर है किसी भी डिजास्टर में, और ख़ास करके फ्लड सिचुएशन में अगर बात करें तो अनहाइजेनिक कंडीशन एंड लैक ऑफ सेफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर कैन कॉज इन्फेक्शियस डिजीज टू स्प्रेड। अगर प्रॉपर सप्लाई, प्रॉपर अगर हम उसको देखें, अगर ड्रिंकिंग वाटर की सप्लाई हो तो उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है जो बच्चे की हेल्थ पे पड़ता है। बच्चे अगर रीइंफोर्स होते हैं, उस सेफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर अगर नहीं मिलता है तो उसका असर उनके हेल्थ पे पड़ता है। बच्चे या तो डायरिया के शिकार हो सकते हैं, या कॉलरा फैल सकता है, इंटेस्टिनल डिजीज होता है, बच्चे बीमार पड़ने के कारण बच्चे माल न्यूट्रिशन के शिकार होते हैं, डिहाइड्रेशन के केसेस ज़्यादा बढ़ जाते हैं। तो ये वाटर सैनिटेशन, अगर प्रॉपर शुद्ध वाटर अगर नहीं मिलता है, प्योर वाटर अगर नहीं मिल पाता है उस सिचुएशन में, तो उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है जो बच्चे के हेल्थ पे पड़ता है। मेंटल हेल्थ तो प्रीवियस क्लास में ऑलरेडी ममता मैडम ने कवर किया होगा, लेकिन मैं भी थोड़ा सा आपको, बच्चे अगर प्रॉपर स्कूलिंग नहीं हो पाती है, अगर बच्चे को पूरा प्रॉपर फैमिली का सपोर्ट नहीं मिल पाता है डिजास्टर के, तो बच्चे ज़्यादा स्ट्रेस में रहते हैं, भयभीत रहते हैं। अगर कोई किसी भी मेगा डिजास्टर होता है तो अगर उसके माता पिता अगर उस डिजास्टर में प्रभावित होते हैं तो इमोशनली हार्मफुल होते हैं बच्चे। और बच्चे में जो आफ्टर डिजास्टर स्ट्रेस कैन बी इनकर्ड फ्रॉम डैमेज टू चिल्ड्रन होम्स। अगर बच्चे का अगर हाउस जहाँ पे वो रह रहे हैं, जहाँ खेलते थे, जहाँ पर लोगों से मिलते थे, अगर पूरी तरह से डैमेज होता है तो उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट बच्चे के हेल्थ पे, मेंटल हेल्थ पे पड़ता है। तो ये सारी चीज़ें जो देखने को, इवन लव वंस आर मिसिंग और इंजर्ड, अगर उनके जो प्यार करने वाले, उनके देख रेख करने वाले जो केयर गिवर हैं, अगर वो पूरी तरह से प्रभावित होते हैं तो उस कोपिंग को सिचुएशन को बच्चा भुला नहीं पाता है, और उसका डायरेक्ट लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट देखने को मिलता है। चिल्ड्रन में बिकम अपसेट व्हेन देयर केयर गिवर एक्सपीरियंस फियर एंड स्ट्रेस। बच्चे अगर देखते हैं कि अगर उसके केयर गिवर हैं जो अगर प्रभावित होते हैं, तो उसका भी इम्पैक्ट है जो बच्चे के पड़ता है। इसके अलावा अनदर इम्पैक्ट के बारे में बात करेंगे कि डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में तो ज़्यादातर जो केसेज होते हैं बॉन्डेड लेबर के केसेज। अगर बच्चे ने माता पिता को खो दिया है, या बच्चे ऑर्फन हो गए हैं, या बच्चे के का जो फैमिली ग्राउंड बहुत पुअर है, और बच्चे के जो माता पिता का जो जॉब है या किस तरह का जो सोर्स ऑफ इनकम है, अगर पूरी तरह से प्रभावित हुआ है, तो बॉन्डेड लेबर के रूप में काम करने के लिए रीइंफोर्स हो जाते हैं, काम करने के लिए रीइंफोर्स होते हैं। और बहुत ज़्यादातर बच्चे माइंस में काम करना है या दूसरे के घरों में काम करने के लिए अपने फैमिली को सपोर्ट करने के लिए करना पड़ता है। चाइल्ड लेबर के रूप में काम करने के केसेस ज़्यादा बढ़ जाते हैं उस समय, और चाइल्ड मैरिजेज के भी केसेस ज़्यादा बढ़ जाते हैं। तो अभी कोविड-19 की सिचुएशन में अगर देखें तो इस तरह के केसेस बहुत ज़्यादा। तो ये जो इम्पैक्ट है जनरली बॉन्डेड लेबर का या चाइल्ड लेबर के केसेज इंक्रीज होना, ऑर्फन हो जाना, चाइल्ड मैरिज बढ़ना, चाइल्ड ट्रैफिकिंग, ये सारे जो केसेज हैं इस डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में हमेशा देखने को मिलता है कि बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ते हैं, बहुत ज़्यादा बढ़ जाता है। ये है एक चिन्ह सुनामी के समय का है, एक जो पेरेंट्स हैं जो अपने बच्चे को प्रॉपर जो रिलीफ नहीं मिलने के कारण फैमिली को सर्वाइवल के लिए है, जो अपने बच्चे को एज ए बॉन्डेड लेबर के रूप में उन्होंने सोल्ड कर दिया था। तो ये सारी चीज़ें देखने को मिलती है। ये बहुत सारे केस स्टडी हैं सुनामी के टाइम के, जिसमें ये एक केस है जो जस्ट मिनट, शारदा मैडम, मिस शारदा का है। इन्होंने बहुत ही अर्ली एज में सुनामी के टाइम में अपने माता पिता को खो दिया, और उसमें स्कूल से ड्रॉप आउट हो गए। इनको घर दूसरे के घरों में काम करना पड़ा, बहुत दिनों तक मेंटल स्ट्रेस में रहने, जिसके उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट उनके होने वाले बच्चे पे पड़ा। उनका जो मैरिज होना उनके चॉइस के अनुसार नहीं हो पाया। तो ये सारी चीज़ें हमेशा ट्रॉमा में, साइकोलॉजिकल ट्रॉमा में रहने लगी। तो ये सारी चीज़ें लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट में लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है किसी भी डिजास्टर का बच्चे पे। अगर उनके माता पिता उस डिजास्टर में मारे जाते हैं, या बच्चा अपना माता पिता को अगर खो देता है, तो उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है। नेक्स्ट, जस्ट मिनट। ये बहुत सारे केसेज हैं, मैं ज़्यादा कवर नहीं करूँगा। अब सीधे मैं लाइफ साइकिल अप्रोच पे आ जाता हूँ कि किस तरह से डिफरेंट लाइफ साइकिल, बच्चे के डिफरेंट फेज ऑफ लाइफ साइकिल जो है उसमें किस तरह से क्या रिस्क है, क्या वल्नरेबिलिटी है, और किस तरह से उसको कम किया जाए, क्या प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स होने चाहिए। तो इसमें अगर बात करें तो बच्चे को लाइफ साइकिल में डिफरेंट लाइफ साइकिल 0 to 1 ईयर, 1 to 3 ईयर, 3 to 6 ईयर, 6 to 12 ईयर, 13 ईयर, 13 to 18 ईयर तक का जो फेजेज है, इस फेज में किस तरह से बच्चे को नर्चर करना है, किस तरह से बच्चे को है जो टाइमली सपोर्ट करना है, जिससे कि बच्चे का ग्रोथ, बच्चे का डेवलपमेंट अच्छी तरह से हो सके। और डिजास्टर रिस्क कैन बी बेस्ट एड्रेस इफ सिचुएशन एनालिसिस फॉर डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम फॉर्मुलेशन कंसीडर एज एंड जेंडर रिलेटेड नीड्स। जी, तो अगर इस तरह का अगर बच्चों से रिलेटेड अगर कोई प्रोग्राम फॉर्मुलेट कर रहे हैं, डेवलपमेंट प्रोग्राम फॉर्मुलेट, तो बच्चे के जो बेसिक नीड्स हैं, बच्चे के जो रिस्क हैं, बच्चे को ज़रूर उसमें कंसीडर, उसके सिचुएशन एनालिसिस को देखते हुए ज़रूर उसको कंसीडर करना चाहिए, और उसको एज के अनुसार उसकी क्या रिक्वायरमेंट है, एज के अनुसार उसको क्या चाहिए, वो सारी चीज़ें आपको उस समय ध्यान में देना बहुत ज़रूरी है। तो लाइफ साइकिल बात करते हैं तो बच्चे का जो स्टार्टिंग जो लाइफ साइकिल है स्टार्ट हो जाता है प्री नेटल स्टेज से स्टार्ट होता है। द नीड ऑफ केयर प्रोटेक्शन द स्केल ऑफ डिपेंडेंसी ऑफ चिल्ड्रेन फॉर सर्वाइवल वेरीज। डिफरेंट फेज में वो जो बच्चे का जो केयर है, नीड ऑफ केयर, बच्चे का जो प्रोटेक्शन इशू है या उसका जो डिपेंडेंसी है उसके चिल्ड्रेन पर, उसके सर्वाइवल के लिए अलग अलग होता है। तो जो उस समय हर फेज में जो सर्विसेज मिलना चाहिए, रेंडर सर्विसेज रिलेटेड टू हेल्थ, रिलेटेड टू फूड, रिलेटेड टू न्यूट्रिशियस फूड, न्यूट्रिशियस इम्यूनाइजेशन, जो जो टाइमली सर्विसेज मिलनी चाहिए अगर नहीं मिल पाती है तो उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है जो बच्चे के ग्रोथ, बच्चे के डेवलपमेंट पर पड़ता है। तो सर्विसेज रेंडर बाय द ड्यूटी बीरर, हु इज द ड्यूटी बीरर? पेरेंट्स, गवर्नमेंट एजेंसी या जो डिफरेंट स्टेक होल्डर हैं, चाहे एजुकेशन डिपार्टमेंट से हों, चाहे हेल्थ डिपार्टमेंट से हो, चाहे स्टेट लेवल के स्टेट लेवल इंस्टीट्यूशन से हों, तो उनकी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी होती है कि बच्चे को है जो ये सारी सुविधाएं दें। तो द सर्विसेज रेंडर बाय द ड्यूटी बीरर आर इनवेरिएबली एट द रिस्क ऑफ बीइंग इरोडेड ड्यूरिंग डिजास्टर एंड कम्प्लेक्स इमरजेंसी। कोई भी कम्प्लेक्स इमरजेंसी होता है या कोई भी, तो डिजास्टर जो रेंडर सर्विसेज जो ड्यूटी बीरर को के रूप में अगर उनको प्रोवाइड जो मिलना चाहिए, बच्चे को मिलना चाहिए, वो ड्यूटी बीरर की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है कि उसको उस सर्विसेज को प्रोवाइड करें। और जनरली डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में ये जो सर्विसेज हैं पूरी तरह से इरोडेड हो जाते हैं और डिस्टर्ब होते हैं, और उसका डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट है जो बच्चे की हेल्थ पे। इसके अलावा बहुत सारे सोशल जो प्रैक्टिसेज और सोशल जो इशूज हैं एसेंचुएट हो जाते हैं डिजास्टर के सीजन, जैसे जेंडर डिस्क्रिमिनेशन, चाइल्ड मैरिज, चाइल्ड लेबर, इस जो इशूज हैं वो एसेंचुएट कर जाते हैं डिजास्टर के सीजन, और इसका इम्पैक्ट डिफरेंट चिल्ड्रन के डिफरेंट लाइफ फेज पर बहुत ज़्यादा प्रभाव पड़ता है। तो लाइफ ऑफ चिल्ड्रन कैन बी डिवाइडेड इनटू वेरियस फेजेस। डिफरेंट जो बच्चे का जो लाइफ साइकिल है कई फेज में बांटते हैं, जिसे नीचे के पिक्चर में हम आप देख रहे होंगे कि जो फीटस इन वूम से लेकर अप टू ओल्ड पर्सन तक जो लाइफ स्केल है, तो इसमें हम देखते हैं कि फीटस वाला जो फेज है उस समय 1 to बर्थ से 1 ईयर का फेज, उसके बाद 1 से 3 ईयर का फेज टॉडलर का फेज कहते हैं, उसके बाद 3 to 5 ईयर का फेज होता है प्री स्कूलर फेज कहते हैं जिसको, और 5 to 12 ईयर की बात करें वो प्राइमरी स्कूल वाई के लिए होता है, और एडोलेसेंस फेज होता है तो 13 से 19 ईयर का फेज होता है, उसके बाद एडल्ट और एडल्टहुड का फेज होता है, उसके बाद ओल्ड पर्सन। तो ये जो लाइफ साइकिल है इसको किस तरह से डिजास्टर समय में प्रभावित होता है, उसकी एज के अनुसार डिफरेंट वल्नरेबिलिटी है, डिफरेंट रिस्क है, और तो इसको ध्यान में रखते हुए अगर फॉर्मुलेट करना है, कोई भी डिज़ाइन करना है, CCDRR एक्टिविटी से रिलेटेड प्रोग्राम बहुत ही डिज़ाइन करना है, तो इसको कंसीडर करना बहुत इंपॉर्टेंट है। तो इम्पॉर्टेंट टू कंसीडर द एज स्पेसिफिक, जेंडर स्पेसिफिक नीड और वल्नरेबिलिटी। जेंडर स्पेसिफिक नीड क्या है हर एज के बच्चे की वल्नरेबिलिटी क्या है, बच्चे की कैपेसिटी, उसको ध्यान में रखकर ही हम किसी भी CCDR चाइल्ड सेंट्रिक डिजास्टर रिस्क रिडक्शन एक्टिविटी को डिजाइन करते हैं और फॉर वेलबींग ऑफ द चिल्ड्रेन। अब बात करते हैं कि हर डिफरेंट लाइफ नीड टू बी डन टू इंश्योर प्रोविजन, और तो इसमें क्या है, इस सिचुएशन में डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में ये सुविधाएं अगर प्रभावित होती हैं, डिफरेंट जो उनको टाइमली सर्विसेज मिलने चाहिए अगर प्रभावित होते हैं, तो उनको इंश्योर करना हमारी के एज ए केयर गिवर, एज ए स्टेट की रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है। तो नीड टू बी डन इंश्योर प्रोविजन ऑफ इफिशियंट एंड टाइमली सर्विसेज टू कैटर द नीड्स ऑफ डिफरेंट एज ग्रुप। जो डिफरेंट एज ग्रुप के बच्चे हैं, डिफरेंट उसके अनुसार उसकी क्या टाइमली सर्विसेज होनी चाहिए, उनको किन तरह के रिक्वायरमेंट है, उनको डेवलपमेंट में, उनके ग्रोथ में, उसको इंश्योर करना एज ए केयर गिवर हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है, और एज ए गार्जियन, एज ए स्टेट आवर रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी टू इंश्योर ऑल प्रोविजन, ऑल सर्विसेज, टाइमली सर्विसेज टू द चिल्ड्रेन। चाइल्ड रिक्वायरमेंट चेंजेस विथ ईच फेज। बच्चे का जो रिक्वायरमेंट है उसके डिफरेंट फेज में अलग अलग होता है, तो उसको भी ध्यान में रखना होगा। हर जैसे 0 to 1 ईयर के बच्चे को क्या चाहिए, 1 to 3 ईयर के बच्चे को ग्रोथ डेवलपमेंट ग्रोथ में क्या क्या सुविधाएं मिलनी चाहिए। ये सारी जो टाइमली क्रिटिकल सर्विसेज हैं एज वेल एज इफेक्टिव प्रैक्टिसेज कैन बी रेंडर इन ऑर्डर टू एड्रेस देयर नीड एंड राइट्स। उसके बच्चे के राइट्स और उसके नीड को ध्यान में रखते हुए ये सर्विसेज को प्रोवाइड करना हमारी रिस्पॉन्सिबिलिटी है एज ए पेरेंट्स, एज ए केयर गिवर। और ये जनरली ये सर्विसेज जो है जो डिजास्टर सिचुएशन में बच्चों को मिल नहीं पाती है, या तो स्टेट के पास उतना उस समय उतनी कैपेसिटी नहीं रहती है कि बच्चे को जो राइट्स हैं, बच्चे के जो नीड्स हैं उसको फुलफिल करे। तब एक्सटर्नल सपोर्ट की ज़रूरत है, उसमें एक्सटर्नल एजेंसी की ज़रूरत होती है, चाहे यूनिसेफ हो, चाहे यूएन स्कैप हो, ये सारे आके सर्विसेज प्रोवाइड करते हैं। तो ये सारी चीज़ें देखी गई। अब हम फेज वाइज किस तरह से बच्चे की क्या रिस्क हैं और क्या वनरेबिलिटी है और उसके लिए उसके क्या प्रिवेंटिव मेजर्स हो सके, किस तरह के प्रैक्टिसेज हमको रिक्वायर्ड हो टाइमली सर्विसेज के लिए। तो टाइमली क्रिटिकल सर्विसेज एंड केयर की बात करें तो चाइल्ड राइट की बात करें तो चाइल्ड राइट जो स्टार्ट होता है प्री नेटल स्टेज से स्टार्ट हो जाता है। फर्स्ट 1009 मंथ का जो प्रेगनेंसी पीरियड से लेकर अप टू 2 ईयर तक की बात करें तो उसी समय से मतलब आपका चाइल्ड राइट्स की जो राइट टू गुड हेल्थ की बात करते हैं, राइट टू प्रॉपर जो गुड हेल्थ की बात करते हैं, राइट टू, तो वो प्रॉपर जो सर्विसेज मिलनी चाहिए उसमें बच्चे के मदर को या जो बच्चे के जो बच्चा माँ के गर्भ में पल रहा है उसके लिए जो क्या सुविधाएं मिलनी चाहिए, वो सारी चीज़ें हाईली इस एज के जो बच्चे होते हैं जो अप टू 9 मंथ का जो प्रेगनेंसी पीरियड, अगर उस समय अगर कोई डिजास्टर सिचुएशन क्रिएट होता है या कम्प्लेक्स इमरजेंसी होता है तो बहुत ज़्यादा प्रभावित है। क्योंकि ये जो प्रेग्नेंट और जो 9 मंथ का जो पीरियड होता है उसमें ज़्यादा हाईली वल्नरेबल फेज माना जाता है। और इस समय बच्चे और बच्चे के जो मदर हैं, जो चिल्ड्रेन बोर्न और इन whom जो भी हैं उन पे ज़्यादा असर पड़ता है। सपोज दैट कि अगर ये अर्थक्वेक हैपेंस तो उस समय अगर बच्चे के माता उसमें अगर प्रभावित होते हैं तो उस पर डायरेक्ट और इनडायरेक्ट इफेक्ट पड़ता है उनके हेल्थ पे। और उसके कारण जो है बच्चे के जो या तो इमरजेंसी या क्लाइमेटिक
Ranjan ji,
कंडीशन।
you are requested to wrap up as today is valedictory also, and we will be
ओके
needing
ओके
time.
ओके सर। तो ये है जो इस तरह के एज में करना है। इसके अलावा इसके लिए क्या प्रिवेंटिव मेजर है, लिस्टिंग ऑफ एक्सपेक्टिंग मदर्स, मॉनिटरिंग रॉ, इसके लिए हम स्ट्रेटजी बनाएंगे और उन जो मदर्स हैं उनको उस तरह की सुविधाएं देंगे। उनको MISP किट जो मिनिमम इनिशियल स्पेशल पैकेज और जो किट्स मटेरियल है उसको प्रोवाइड करना होगा। इसके अलावा बच्चे के लिए जो PDS सुविधाएँ जो है उस एरिया में, इफेक्टेड एरिया में फिर से रीएस्टेब्लिश करना होगा। तो ये सारे हम मेजर। और सेकेंड फेज में बात करते हैं 2 to 3 ईयर का फेज होता है जो फीडिंग का फेज होता है और इसमें बच्चे का ग्रोथ डेवलपमेंट होता है। तो इस फेज में के लिए बच्चे ज़्यादा अगर मदर प्रभावित होते हैं तो ब्रेस्ट लैक्टेशन ऑफ फेलियर के चांसेस ज़्यादा होते हैं और उसका जो प्रॉपर केयर होना चाहिए, लॉस ऑफ केयर के चांसेस बढ़ जाते हैं जिससे डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है बच्चे के सर्वाइवल। और ये ज़्यादातर देखा जाता है अगर मास डिस्प्लेसमेंट होता है तो जो इम्यूनाइजेशन की सुविधाएँ जो शेड्यूल में होती थी वो भी पूरी तरह से डिस्टर्ब होती है जिससे उनके डायरेक्ट इम्पैक्ट उनके हेल्थ पे पड़ता है। तो इस समय अगर हमको अगर कुछ तरह का मेजर लेना है तो उसमें बेसिकली स्ट्रॉन्ग प्रिपेयर्डनेस करना होगा। जो है वैक्सीनेशन को रीएस्टैब्लिश करना है, एक मास वैक्सीनेशन को ध्यान में रखते हुए उसको बच्चे के सेफ गार्ड के लिए काम करना होगा। इसके अलावा बच्चे के जो पेरेंट जो प्रभावित हैं उनको फिर से सपोर्ट करना होगा जिससे कि जो डिजास्टर से का जो कोपिंग इम्पैक्ट है उनसे कम हो और बच्चे अपने बच्चे को देखभाल कर सके। इसके अलावा सेफ ड्रिंकिंग वाटर और सैनिटेशन की सुविधाएं फिर से वहाँ पे इस्टेब्लिश करना होगा जिससे कि बच्चे सुरक्षित जिससे प्रॉपर केयर हो सके। इसके अलावा थर्ड फेज का जो है जो मोस्ट इंपॉर्टेंट पार्ट है चाइल्ड लाइफ का, उस फेज में मेजॉरिटी ऑफ ब्रेन डेवलपमेंट का बच्चे का होता है। तो उस फेज में भी बच्चे अगर इस तरह का डिजास्टर में प्रभावित होते हैं तो उनका लॉन्ग टर्म इम्पैक्ट पड़ता है, लॉस ऑफ आंगनबाड़ी या डिस्टर्ब न्यूट्रिशन या चाइल्डहुड एजुकेशन की सर्विसेज पूरी तरह से प्रभावित। तो इस समय क्या करना चाहिए, इस समय टेम्प्रोरी आंगनबाड़ी सर्विसेज को फिर से रिस्टेब्लिश करना होगा, बास की सर्विसेज, बास फैसिलिटी या इम्यूनाइजेशन की फैसिलिटी को पुनः रीस्टैब्लिश करना होगा। इसके अलावा रिक्रिएशनल एक्टिविटी के लिए उस तरह का टेम्प्रोरी व्यवस्था जिससे बच्चे उसमें इन्वॉल्व हो सके, बच्चे उसमें पार्टिसिपेट कर
Ranjan
सके।
ji, thank you
हाँ
very much. Now it's time,
ओके ओके थैंक यू सर।
and it will be better that you just go through the very important points in the rest of the slides, just focusing the things.
ओके ओके
Yeah.
सो तो दिस वन इज ओके नेक्स्ट पेज 6 to 12 ईयर मिडिल चाइल्डहुड फेज और स्कूलिंग फेज होता है, इस फेज में बच्चे बहुत रहते हैं, तो स्कूल को पुनः इंश्योर करना होगा, फिर से स्कूल बच्चे जा सकते हैं सर। ओके सर, तो
And
इसमें
and we would
last
request that Manika, you please forward all the PPTs in the mail to all the participants. So whatever is we couldn't cover on the platform, they can go through the PPT and it's easily understandable. We would not like to actually stay participants than the mandated timing. So
Sure, sir. Sure, we'll
Ranjan,
do that.
we will go with the next
Sure,
presentation.
sir, sure. Thank you very much, sir, for a very comprehensive presentation covering diverse ways in which the disaster impacts the life of children, ranging from the disruption in schooling, studies, to the effect on their health due to contaminated water and other aspects like you covered, the impact on mental health. So I hope that this has acted as a value addition for our participants as well. So with that, I'll move on to the second session for the day because we do not have any question answers.
We can take question answers for both sessions at the end of the both sessions. Manika, you are muted, I think.
Oh, no problem, sir. I was just thanking Ranjan sir for a very comprehensive presentation. He's covered very diverse ways in which the disaster impacts the life of children, from disruption in schooling and studies to the effects on their health and mental health, and importantly, the consequences of the impacts, disaster impact on children, and how disaster risks can be addressed. So we don't have any questions at present. So I request the participants to please share their questions. We can take it up after the second session. So we'll now move on to the second presentation, which is on the subject home to home school safety by Dr. Raka, a social scientist and a reputed disaster management professional, and at
Manika, I
present
think you have
engaged
already
as
introduced me.
program officer with NIDM. That's it, sir.
You
Over
have
to you.
already.
Thank you.
So thank you, Manika. Thank you very much. Today again we are going with next very important session, and that is actually the need of the hour. My presentation and video is and voice is all right, Manika?
Yes, sir. Yes, fine, perfectly fine.
Okay. So I'm having a little bit poor internet connectivity here, so that is why if something is gone missing or voice or video, immediately just let me know.
I'll let you know. Sure.
So schools, when we are talking about and home to home school safety or school safety, then we are at a crossroad right now. You know, the schools started reopening just a few months ago, and a new virus is again on our head. And since the children are not having the vaccination as of now, till now, then all the parents and even grown-up children are also very worried that whether we have to join the school or not. And this problem is actually not so easy to handle, because reopening of the schools is very, very important because of certain reasons. I'll let you know. And if we are sending children to school, then who is going to take the responsibility of their complete safety and security? But before that, a little bit background why this is important. You know that 6 to 8 hours, roughly 5 days a week, all children spend in the school. And that translates somewhere 1500 hours in a year. And if we count on 10 years of schooling, class 1 to just 10th, then it translates into 15,000 hours of children's life, childhood actually. So that is a huge time. And if we count also preschooling, and after that 11th and 12th, and after that graduation also for at least first or second year, then this timing is very, very huge in terms of where children are spending their childhood and what is the environment there. And normally, you know that whenever children are at home, the safety and security concerns are of the family members, the caretakers, the parents. Okay, but immediately when they leave home, and after that the external agencies, On the way also, until unless they are reaching their educational institutions, and after that, whatever time they are spending there until the time they are coming back to home. So again, a lot of stakeholders are involved into that. Either it's transportation or school management authority or educational management authorities. And that highlights the safety and security concern of the children from both structural and non-structural point of view. Like previously, we have discussed a lot of things, mental health issues, how the behavioral changes are taking place. And Dr. Ranjan also right now told that suicidal tendencies in children during the lockdown, all these constitute non-structural issues. But along with that, structural issues are also very, very important component. And if we compromise with structural issues, then in seconds, thousands and thousands of children are killed. And we will be very briefly looking at concerns of structural safety issues. First of all, just see, I'll go through very rapidly, very rapidly here. Most of them are earthquake, either it's Armenia in 1988 or Ardakul of Iran, Ardakul province of Iran, 110 students killed there, and in Armenia almost 4,000 elementary schools, school children were killed. And thereafter, 99 again in Jiji province of Taiwan, a major earthquake took place and 700 schools nationwide damaged. 2008 Sichuan earthquake of China, that is very fresh in our mind. Almost 90,000 students were killed and almost 7,000 school buildings were destroyed. And what pictures you are seeing on your screen, that are the real pictures of when we compromise with structural safety norms. And all these parents who had sent their kids in the morning very happily to the school, and after a few hours, they are into the this situation, the last right, actually. And it's not only earthquakes. Many times you see that some madmen. Recently, a news came that one student of the U.S. Michigan, if I remember exactly the province name, he started just he got somewhere gun and bullets, and he went to school and started firing on the students and teachers. And many such incidents has occurred previously also. But in our country, till now, we are safe from all those things, but threat is there. Although gun laws are very strict in our country, not like USA, where you can go to any mall or any vegetable shop and can purchase guns and bullets. And that is one reason, but threats are always there. Terrorists also have attacked schools, and they have taken hostage children and teachers because they are the soft targets. The schools are not exactly the place which are equipped to deal with such insurgent or agencies like terrorism and etc. So obviously they are the soft targets, and all these threats are very, very much here in our country as well. Now looking at the Indian scenario, what has happened here, and 1999, the Wali is a place in Haryana, state of India, and school award ceremony was going on, and there were a lot of kids present there along with their parents and their relatives, and all of a sudden a fire took place there, and because of faulty electric wirings, and there was no proper escape or exit routes, and almost 400 people died there, and half of them were the students. Again, this is Bhuj earthquake of Gujarat in 2001, and that was a national holiday, and kids were doing Prabhat Fairy. They were not inside the classrooms, and all of a sudden a massive earthquake took place, and almost 31 teachers and 971 students died, and more numbers were badly injured, 95 teachers and over 1,000 students. 2004 is the turning point in the history of school safety and security as far as our country is concerned, because this was again a massive same on humanity, I should say, incident type, that a building like multi-story building, and there a number of schools were being operated by Krishna Memorial Trust, like senior secondary school or junior boys school or girls school, and all of a sudden that building also caught fire because of faulty electricity, and children were not having any escape. They were forced to be burnt alive, and 94 children died immediately, and 18 others so badly injured in that fire that they never came back into their life. And the picture below on your screen is the evidence that what sort of fire had taken place. All the books, all the bags, all the pencils, blackboard, walls, everything has blackened. And this is the first picture taken after fire rescue personnel reached the school. And immediately after a year, within a year, actually, not after a year, within a year, in Pakistan occupied Jammu and Kashmir, actually, a devastating earthquake took place again, and 19,000 children again died. And you know that this area was actually not under the sovereignty of Indian agencies or the Pakistani agencies. This was a conflict zone, and immediately relief and rescue agency was finding it very hard to reach there. But then when they reached, the damage was so massive that all the school buildings were collapsed. And later on, we came to know that almost 19,000 students have died. And that doesn't stop there. Although why I told that this was the turning point, 2004 Kumbakonam incident, I'll be discussing that in between my presentation here. But after that also, either you remember or not, Surat coaching fire incident. The coaching center was, the building was under the fire, and a coaching center was going on a 4th floor or 5th floor. And because of non-exit routes, 20 students killed, and some jumped from the balcony in order to save them, but dead. And all you see on your screen, this is not something that something out of the blue. These are the daily news reports in our country. Recently also, there are a lot of concerns about safety and security of children. In UP, one place I was reading a news that last month, that girl students were sedated by spike in their food, and after that the management of the school itself harassed them or molested them. And forget about corona. Right now I'm not talking about corona. In spite, leaving corona behind, there are so many problems when we are talking about safety and security concerns of the children. If children are going by bus to their school, the bus has fallen into gorge, or somewhere it's collapsed with a train and children are dying. Somewhere school buildings, school walls are collapsing. Somewhere midday meals are problematic. Somewhere the hospitalization, hospitals are not enough that they can take care of the children. So actually, problem is manifold, massive, and unless we all stakeholder, and specifically the parents who are the responsible caretaker of our child, doesn't give a very focused attention, a very particular attention to this point, actually, then the situation is not seems improving exponentially, actually. And one another startling data is here, that you see that National Crime Records Bureau is telling that between 2 years, 24,000 children committed suicide. Not committed suicide. Children are not something to commit. Actually, they died by suicide, and we forced them to commit the suicide. Somewhere all the stakeholders are responsible for that. And this data is before COVID-19. What has happened after COVID-19? That is another challenge. UNICEF in June 2020 estimates that almost 9 lakh children will be dying because of COVID-19 in South Asia. And naturally, India is the largest populous country in South Asia. The maximum number of children will be from our country. and the deaths will be because of malnutrition and after that when school starts reopening, then where were the safety and security concerns that wherever schools were reopened, almost five, you see Bangalore is there, Kerala is there, lockdown, what happened, Odisha CM wants that again they will go for the lockdown. So actually safety and security measures are not taken care of, and that is why the fear of parents are also very considerable, justified actually. Why not? If I am sending my kid and my ward to school, then if not proper safety and security is there, if not vaccination is there, COVID-19 has given us a new variant that is more fast spreading, etc., blah, blah, blah. So there are a lot of confusions, but at the same time, now 18 months of closure. 18 months of closure means that whatever children had learned previously, they are not able to retain that. Continuity of education is already disrupted. And when the children all over the world were not studying, then it was fine. But now the children in other states or other countries, if they are continuing with the education, and if only my child is not being educated, then that is a greater concern for me. Okay, and for all of us, we would like that school should be reopened. And there were many challenges. This is challenge of middle class or upper middle class, and for lower middle class, their children were going to school, and there along with continuity of education, learning, they were getting one-time nutritional meal that is called midday meal. And you know that India is second largest country in the world who is providing midday meal, one-time nutritional meal to those poor children who are not having at home. And once that is also stopped from last 18 months, the millions of children are devoid of nutritional meal, and that is going to affect the entire health infrastructure of the country in the coming days. And later on, that health, the investment on the health will be translated into the overall economy of the country. So challenges are here, and we have to be focused on that. And the only thing is that if we can start safe school operations, then continuity of learning will also be there. The problem what children previously learned, further they retain that also can be achieved. This nutritional health problem or nutritional meal problem, that can also be solved. But for that, we need actually safe and secure school reopening. Otherwise, things are like that only. And for that, we need some basic principles, and basic principles are we are going to discuss in next 15-20 minutes. First of all, see, you have to always see that only when the students, teachers, or staffs are completely healthy, then they should be called to school. They should be sent to school. And if anyone is having any problem, they are telling that I am sick or any of my family member is sick, don't call them to school. Okay. The second thing is hand washing, face mask is very important, and along with this, social distancing is also very important. We will be discussing in the later slides also. And this is the time that almost world over the scientists and WHO is also telling that, see, pandemic is going to stay with us for a longer time. And this is the right time that we focus on hygiene education, health related education, and that should also be age appropriate. And for that, we need to first, as a parents or a teacher or a school management, whatever role as a stakeholder I'm playing into the reopening of the safe school operations, some facts are there that you have to know the latest facts, and that is also authentic facts. And you have to kill the information and news what is actually the myth or unreliable information. Okay, this is very important. Otherwise, on the one hand, fear starts propagating, and At the other hand, we are also confused what is right, what is wrong. And thus, all the things are here on your screen. Just keep it reading very rapidly so that I would be able to wrap up it well in time. I'm not going to read all the things. The major thing is, see, identify the symptoms immediately. If you are not identifying symptoms of COVID-19, then you are at loss at the very first stage. And thereafter, complications, transmission, and preventive mechanism, actually, that is also very, very important. And once you learn it, you ensure that you are learning and updating yourself from a reputable source of information. That is, what are they actually? What they are? International agencies of repute like UNICEF or World Health Organization, or your national health ministry, or your national ministries, or your state government departments, because they don't come into the public like and leading news agencies or the print media or the digital media of this country, that they will go with the TRP, because they are responsible for their citizens. They may be late in providing information to you, but they will not come with the wrong information. So always identify and make sure that you are receiving information from a trusted source, from a reputable source. That information is only reliable, otherwise not. And I told you that whenever you find any fake information, myth, kill it to yourself, don't spread it to others. Now, safe school operations, what I mean by that, actually. See, like previously 3 days, you must have learned that there are a lot of disasters, and there are a lot of adverse impacts of different kind of disaster on different age group of children. And for that, after 2004 Kumbakonam fire, what I told, that was the turning point in the school safety history of India. The government, along with Honorable Supreme Court, central government came up with very drastic regulations for safety and security of children. But till that time, something like COVID-19 biological disaster we never faced. Okay, and not only in our country or India, world had never faced some drastic biological disaster like this, COVID-19 on such a large scale, and so no one was prepared for that. Uh, uh, so no one was, I'll be talking later on, Sanjay. So no one was prepared for that. And actually, what happened as a result, since we were not prepared, everything went to a closures and lockdowns. But the thing was that after 2004, the government, the central agencies, the Honorable Supreme Court also find that there were a lot of disasters like fire disasters, tsunamis, floods, earthquake, etc., etc. And for that, schools are not prepared, and accordingly they directed and made it mandatory that every school has to prepare a school disaster management plan, and all the safety security measures should be there, where the as per the vulnerability area of the school, do's and do nots should be taught to the children, and regular mock drills should be held. But again, after that was into the implementation, almost many states has achieved a lot, and many were preparing themselves, but COVID-19 was far ahead of our dreams, and that again forced us that complete closures. Now, when we are reopening them, the previous two waves, or the 19 months now, almost 19 months now, have given us a lot of experience about reopening. See, when reopening, make sure that your school is not being used for any other purpose, neither as a shelter nor as a treatment unit. Previously, we saw that when migrant exodus was there, then schools were converted into temporary shelters. When the surge of COVID-19 patients were too much, then the schools were converted into the temporary treatment units. But when they are being reopened for educational purpose, there should be nothing else. No community event, no outside meeting, nothing. And hand sanitizer will keep coming to you, because I told you, hands are the culprit. And once hands are infected with COVID-19, knowingly or unknowingly, we are touching the area above our neck and virus gets the passage to enter our body. So hand hygiene is the first thing when we are talking about children and school safety. Masks are secondary things, but hand are the first thing we have to be very careful about, because the scientists have already observed that the inbuilt intrinsic uh, 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 I mean to say, knowingly or unknowingly touching the area above our neck is much more frequent in children if compared to adults. And once hands are infected, virus immediately enters. Whatever type of virus it is, I'm not talking only about COVID-19 either. It's normal cough and cold and flu. So hand hygiene is the first thing. And you can see on your screen that someone has prepared, some school of Delhi Public School, some branch has prepared so beautiful hand hygiene message that is specifically for children. And these best practices should be adopted everywhere. Here, continuing, again you see some very good things. 6 feet apart everywhere, wear a mask, keep your distance. A simple message, and all the 3 key messages are here. Do not sit here. 6 feet apart, keep your distance 6 feet, wear a mask apart. Say simple things. 3 messages are very focused here. And also, when we are talking about reopening, then we have to be very careful that classes, washrooms, everything is being cleaned and disinfected very frequently. And based on the profile of the school, local profile, we have to, the school management or the teachers actually have to identify what are the frequently touched area, maybe different in different schools. But after identifying frequently touched areas and items within a school, that has to be clearly and regularly disinfected and sanitized. Social distancing is a major concern for schools, okay? Because you must have observed that we adults who are who think actually we are not, who think that I'm much more intelligent than a child, and we adults are not actually practicing social distancing at public places. How can we expect from children? But the reality is starkly different. If children are trained, directed, guided perfectly, they are better maintaining the social distancing than the adults. And when we are talking about social distancing, the few things we have to there are few techniques which we have to take care of. And one is staggering of days and staggering of hours. Staggering of days actually includes like staggering means first of all we have to understand what staggering actually is. Staggering means that you stretch something which was shorter before, you make it longer, simply. So staggering of days and staggering of hours. If my school was opening for 5 days, I can make 7 days, okay? And that gives me ample opportunity that I can manage the size of the classroom or the crowded condition within my school, okay? And the same happens with the staggering of hours. If my school was running for 6 hours, I can stretch it to 8 hours. That again given me 2 hours extra every day and 2 days extra in a week, and that is enough for me if I want to manage my school perfectly with the staggering techniques. The one example I'm giving you, this is staggering how this is going to help. If my class was so much crowded that 50 students were sitting without maintaining 1 meter of distance, now I have 2 hours, okay, extra, 2 days extra. So I'll divide that particular class into 2 batches, 25, and everyone can maintain 25 meter, 1 meter distance exactly and perfectly, all the 25 kids. And this is very important, and for that also you have to be creative enough, innovative enough. If your classroom is quite big enough, ample sunlight, ample air, it's quite there is no closeness, or it's not a closed class, then you can go ahead with your 50 students at a time. But if the classroom is having problem, if you are finding problem maintaining social distancing or 1 meter of distance between the two, then you have to come up with all these techniques. And along with that, also you have to identify what are the conditions, what are the activities actually which are generating crowded conditions, and close all those activities which are generating crowded conditions. Either it's morning assemblies, if you are doing it in a closed space, if you have a big ground, 1 meter distance, okay, go ahead with that. But if that is closed space, stop it. If you are having indoor tournaments or games where there are closed stadiums and all the children are not able to maintain social distance, stop it. So you have to identify at your place what are those activities which may generate crowded conditions, and once you identify it, just don't do it right now, not safe. Already we talked about this thing actually, which is on your screen right now, that schools were having plans. Many were preparing the plans as per the vulnerability profile of the country for different disasters. But COVID-19 was not expected. No one has expected some biological disaster will come. Now, when we are reopening, then we have to plan ahead in terms of COVID-19, its variations, its new way of diversification, spread, etc., etc. And again, this is one very good planning from one particular school of this country only. Okay, separating the sick and student and staff, and a healthy student and staff and teachers is primary. And along with that, you plan ahead, you make a protocol for symptomatic students in school. If someone, not only students, even if your teachers or staffs find symptomatic, what actions, point-wise, step by step, what you have to take, and that will not let you down. If the planning is perfect, your functioning will not be disrupted. Otherwise, functioning will again be disrupted, and you will be forced. You will be just saw the news. 500 students and teachers infected recently in Karnataka, Dharwad medical college. Many teachers and staffs were infected by COVID-19. So planning was not there. If the planning is there, if you have prepared yourself with a step-by-step guide, then things will go smoothly. So this is very, very important. And when you are planning and doing something, then you have a very wonderful opportunity to share all the procedures with staff, parents, and students ahead of the time. And you have platform for that, student, parent, teachers meeting, and etc., etc. You have a lot of things. You have to think creatively. Information sharing is again very, very important, because COVID-19 is going to stay with us. Okay. We are seeing alpha, beta, gamma, delta variant, and after that it has reached 15th alphabet of actually Greek alphabet, 15th count of Greek alphabet. And we don't know that this is the last or it may continue. So the best thing is that we have to prepare ourselves, and for that, information sharing is one another very important component. Follow the guidelines only from the national and educational authorities, and updated information should be shared with everyone, either it's teachers, students, parents, or staff. And also utilize your, already I told you, there is nothing new, that you have a wonderful platform to share the information. When you confirm that information is authentic from a reputable source, then you start sharing it. And until unless you think that information is perfect, kill it to yourself. And one another, again, good example by another school of this country, that how the children can be prepared and educated on the best practices. Simple things: wash your hands when they are dirty before eating. Do not cough into hands. And many people you must have observed that this is the way of their coughing or sneezing. No, this is wrong way. Hands are culprit many times. The right way is this. You have to cough or sneeze like this, not into the hands. And if children are trained from a very early age, then it becomes intrinsic in their personality. flexible attendance you have to maintain, and what was the purpose, what is the purpose of school reopening, you have to always be focused on that. That is towards continuity of education, so that children already suffered from last 18 months. Now this should continue with the education along with all the safety and security, and you don't have to run your school in a manner which was functional before COVID-19. Sick attendance policies, sick attendance policies, whoever is sick, don't call them to school. Perfect award and attendance, what was the norm before COVID-19, that all should be avoided. You know what will happen? Again, Omicron variant of COVID-19, right now, a lot of information is not on that, but certain informations are there that this is spreading 5 times faster than the previous variants. Okay, and scientists are working day and night. Everyone is involved to find out more and more about Omicron variant. But just think, 5 times more faster spread than the previous variants. What will happen if your school is running into a green zone right now, and you have taken all the perfect things, all the safety and security measures are there, suppose that, but in the area the virus started spreading very rapidly. What will happen after that? The green zone will turn into the orange zone, and after that red zone, and ultimately it will be a contaminated zone, contamination zone. So by default of Disaster Management Act, you can't run the school at the time when the entire area is in the contamination zone. You have to close it down. So the major thing is that you have to make yourself flexible with exams, assignments, whatever was previously very strict within the school environment, school system, it should be made flexible. If you lose flexibility, you will be losing your resiliency, and once resiliency is lost, then you are forced to break down, you will not continue. And also very important thing is that cross training of staff and teachers, because we need to have less and less crowded conditions within our school or educational institutions. We have to start, and many educational institutions have already done that. Those who haven't done that, they have to maintain cross training of staff, so that functional responsibility of many staff should be catered by one staff actually, and that also will help in safe functioning. The plan is actually, like I told you, that continuity of education for children, so that again they are not going into the lockdown and closures. And with Omicron virus variant, that is very much on our head as of now. Whatever information we have received till now, if not properly maintained and contained, then again we go into the lockdowns and closures. So be focused, very much focused on the purpose why schools are being reopened, continuity of learning. And for that, you have to see that, let's see, I told you earlier that it's not a universal formula, and based on your resources, your location, your system, your manpower, your human resource, your management skills, you have to identify the things and you have to be creative on your own. But purpose is the same. Every school reopening has the same purpose, but all the schools are having different resources. And in that, if your school is like many students, very crowded, you don't have a space, then you find out what is actually important, for which we have to call children into the classroom, divide the curriculum, divide the syllabi. Only for those parts you call students in the classroom or the school which are very difficult to learn or understand online. Rest of the things may go online. Online system has also been developed, although there are a lot of problems into that also because of the socio-economic conditions, internet connectivity. But we have to find out the ways actually how we can make it possible with the continuity of learning. And very important, see, again, many times along with the bulleted points on your screen, you are looking very innovative methods. what is respiratory hygiene? See, all COVID-19 problem is because of respiratory hygiene. And what the child can learn from these cartoons and very bullet and short points, it is ultimate. If one school can do that, why can't rest of the schools do that? It doesn't take a lot of funds or etc. Whatever child extracurricular activities the schools are conducting, more and more they should be focused towards all these health hygiene things. And this will attract all of the child, because children are attracted towards the cartoon and the pictures. And this should be always age, gender, ethnicity, and disability responsive, because we have to be all inclusive when we are talking about DRR. And school reopening is also very much a part of disaster risk reduction. Okay, and with COVID-19 on our head, we have to be much more concentrated on our efforts. That will be very important. Last, mental health issues, I think Namrata ma'am has almost discussed you, but see, in initial slides, you just observed that because of mental health problems, many children committed suicide before COVID-19 also. And during COVID-19, a lot of data is coming right now. And only Kerala state has come up with the exact data that almost 160, 155 children committed suicide because of the lockdown and the pressures on them. So I will not go into the details of these mental health problems of the children, but see, immediately if some extraordinary pressure starts building up in the life of the children, there are certain behavioral changes, and Namrata must have very elaborately must have explained everything to you. The moment you just observe any behavioral changes which is prolonged in the children, don't ignore it. Don't ignore it. And once you ignore it, once their parents ignore it, that starts building, generating and building, and accumulation started, and it reaches a point where you can't treat it or you can't mend it. And that is the situation of always a burnt out situation. And this support structure should not only be dependent on a particular or single stakeholder. It's a entire community or entire society approach. We have to provide them advice, information, help, assistance, guidance, competence, solutions, directions. Otherwise, things are really very horrible as of now. And with this next wave, what will happen, we don't know. I'll finalize and wrap up this. Again, see, this is just a simple symptom, what are the symptoms or actually COVID-19 virus, and where it is normal, where it is not. And we all know that the symptoms are not new. We all had faced it earlier. So this is the right time. We don't have to ignore any symptom, because we can't diversify, or we can't differentiate what is COVID-19 and what is normal cough and cold and flu. So the best thing, immediately identify the symptom. If any child is suffering from any type of cough, cold or flu, don't ignore it, that it will go away. Don't take self-medication, that will go away. Just talk to your doctors. Talking to the doctor is the main concern, and very important, only because that, see, they are the trained doctors and they are scientists of medicine. Actually, they will give you a particular timing, take this particular medicine and wait for this hour or this much 1 or 2 days. If the symptoms are not decreasing, they can suggest you that go for this type of testing or that type of testing. But once we ignore the advice of trained doctors and go ahead with the self-medication or the Google medication, then the viral load, if the virus has entered our body, then it starts multiplying and the viral load increases until the time the testing is come, the case becomes severe. So very, very important, you know the latest facts, keep yourself updated and disseminate the right information to others and kill the wrong information, myths to yourself only. Don't spread that. And send all the children, staff or the teacher when they are completely healthy to the school, otherwise not. Washing hand, wearing mask and maintaining social distancing is only the key to defeat COVID-19. There is no other alternative. Vaccination is not available for children. So in terms of children, these three key points are very, very, very important. And don't ignore any child when you see him or her passing through any situation of stress or anxiety. Otherwise, we don't know what level of anxiety or stress is, whether it has translated into a depressive stage or not, whether that depressive state has translated to us a acute stress reaction or acute stress disorder or post-traumatic stress disorder or traumatic, or there are a lot of things we don't know actually, because everything needs perfect, I mean to say, uh, uh, the person who is perfectly knowledgeable had read about it, having expertise into that, either it's physical health conditions or mental health conditions, that is required. But basic things like basic medical first aid we provide, basic medical psychosocial first aid we can provide. And you must, Namrata must have told you everything about that. So that is a big, very, very vast area of concern. But we don't have to ignore. If we are seeing any children into the stress or anxiety, we should extend our help. And if that is, we are capable of providing our help and support, why not should we? And if we are seeing that even after providing all help and all support and all care, the things are not improving, don't sigh contacting a counselor or psychological uh, expert. That is very, very important. And along with that, you know that this is Angela, one of the housewife of USA, and it's a very normal saying. We all know that, but the words are valuable here. While we try to teach our children all about life, it is our children who teach us what life is actually all about. सारी जिंदगी हम अपने बच्चों को सिखाते रहते हैं कि जिंदगी क्या है, बट वास्तव में हम उनसे सीखते हैं कि जिंदगी कैसे जिया जाता है. And along with that, thank you very much, Manika. I hand it over to you. I hope that I have finished well in time.
Yes, sir. We're on time. Thank you so much for a very informative presentation, which I believe is helpful not just for schools but also for families and parents. Thank you again. So at present, we do not have any questions in the question answer box. So I would now like to request our esteemed dignitary, Shri K.M. Singh sir, to
I'm
please
sorry,
share.
Kate, sir, I'm sorry, I didn't know that you have already joined. Otherwise,
Yes,
I
sir,
would
he joined.
have.
So I would now request Shri K.M. Singh sir to please share his concluding remarks for the valedictory session. Over to you, sir. Thank you.
Ranjan ji, just check out, sir. Professor Santosh is also joining after thanking, sir.
सर अभी ज्वाइन कर रहे हैं, अभी बात हुई है, जस्ट उन्हीं से बात हो रही थी अभी.
Okay,
तो
perfectly all.
पूजा मैम आपने उनको शेयर कर दिया है लिंक, पूछ रहे थे.
लिंक वाला बड़ा प्रॉब्लम हो रहा है इस जूम पे, पता नहीं. आई वाज आल्सो हैविंग फेसिंग अ लिटिल बिट प्रॉब्लम. पूजा, इफ यू हैवंट शेयर देन इमीडिएटली जस्ट सेंड अ मेल टू प्रोफेसर संतोष फॉर द टुडेस लिंक.
I'll do that, sir.
Okay, okay. So Ken sir, most welcome. Meanwhile, the participants would like to listen your experienced view on the topic. सर आप म्यूट हैं, अनम्यूट कर लीजिए.
Thank you, Dr. Raka, and thank you, Manika. First of all, I like to compliment NIDM for giving me this opportunity to deliver the valedictory talk in this important 3-day program of orientation course on CCDRR. Well, since it's already toward the end with only about 15 odd minutes left, I will try to be as brief as possible. Most of you participants are from different walks of life with a lot of experience in your respective fields. Maybe some of you may be wondering, why this program? What is so new about it? What is the objective of this program? Why is PPA, Policy Perspective Foundation, associated? I would like to clarify these issues first. Most of you might be aware already that NIDM, the National Institute of Disaster Management, is a statutory body under the Disaster Management Act 2005, and it is mandated to organize capacity building program in the field of disaster management. This premier institution, NIDM, has done commendable work in the field of capacity building in disaster management in the last over 2 decades. So this is why NIDM is doing it, because it is mandated to do the capacity building of all the stakeholders. As far as the Policy Perspective Foundation is concerned, it is a civil society organization or a think tank which is working in the field of research and capacity building on all issues relating to national security. Now, you all know that every disaster causes enormous loss to life and property, including infrastructure. These losses have direct bearing on the national security. And that's why this provides a point of convergence between the goal of NIDM and the goal of PPF. And that's why this joint program. Now, as I mentioned, NIDM's charter is capacity building of all the stakeholders. Normally, a common perception among people in different walks of life is that disaster or pandemic, whatever it may be, the responsibility is of the government. But that is not precisely so. Actually, in disaster management, we say community is the first responder, and a well-informed community can respond to any disaster more effectively, well in time, and get out of it with least damage. So when you talk of all the stakeholders, it includes people from all walk of life for which NIDM is mandated to do capacity building, whether it's academicians or professionals or technocrats or businessmen, teachers, anyone. Also, whether it's male, female, every age group. But in the field of capacity building, normally we give high priority of capacity building or attending to in case of a special group of people, that is vulnerable group of people, which include female, elderly, physically or mentally challenged persons, and children. But among all these groups, among all these stakeholders, children are the most important. And I like the quotation that Dr. Raka quoted toward the end of Angela Sweden, that while we try to teach the children, in fact, it's children who teach us about the way of life. So that is really true. So children are the most important component of community from the angle of disaster management capacity building. Why? Because children are in the impressionable age when we do the capacity building of children, it is generational investment. It's the most fruitful investment for future of the country. Also because children have the highest level of receptivity and they are willing to learn. In this context, I will give you an example. Yesterday in my inaugural talk, I gave the example of a earthquake in Nepal or tsunami in Cambodia. But another example I want to give you, that last year, during the first wave of tsunami in Himachal Pradesh, in one of the remote districts, the first wave, one about 10-year-old boy.
COVID, sir, COVID, first wave of COVID, Himachal success story.
Sorry, first wave of COVID last year, a 10-year-old boy in Himachal Pradesh, in a remote place, since schools were closed, he used to go to a temple every morning with a stick in his hand, as if he's doing policing. And every worshipper coming out of the children, out of the temple, with those with not having mask, he will touch with this stick and say, "Where is your mask? Aapka mask kahan hai? Aapka mask kahan hai?" Nobody dared to challenge a child. If a elderly man would have done it, grown-up man, people have challenged, "Who are you?" But everybody was impressed with the child, that a 10-year-old child is doing this. That video became so popular in Himachal Pradesh. Ultimately, the Himachal Pradesh police met the child, mascot of Himachal Pradesh police. But why was this child doing it? The child had learned either from the school or from the parents, from the teacher, and he was doing it. So this is one example how children can be, in fact, the best teacher. So, in fact, in our normal life also, many of you, forgive me by saying so, when you go back, you will forget most of the points and would not enforce that even in your family. But on the other hand, if your child learns the same thing, and when you are going out of the house, the father or the mother, and he says, "Papa or Mama, you cannot go out, आप घर से बाहर तब तक नहीं जाएंगे जब तक मास्क नहीं लगाएंगे." You will listen to him. You will comply with that. So that is the advantage of children, because even parents abide by the children's suggestions. Now, that is why the CCDRR is very important. As you mentioned earlier, many countries in the world have gone far ahead in the child-centric disaster risk reduction training, be it Israel, where the conscription, or be it Singapore, where every individual, including every school-going child, gets extensive training in civil defense, including disaster management. But in India, unfortunately, children are not involved in awareness generation program, and their voices are not heard. Dr. Balu mentioned yesterday that the children are one of the most important first responder. They constitute an important component of the community as first responder, and because they represent the future of the country. So that is why this is very important. But the point is, unfortunately, I hope you will agree with me, that in India, we work what we call in Hindi, Ram Bharose culture. जब होगा तो देखा जाएगा, ये सरकार का काम है. And that sort of complacency is our biggest problem. But let me tell you that schools have a very important role to play in the CCDRR program. A few years back, PPF, in association with Taxila Foundation, in association with Geo Hazards, we went to Taxila Foundation and we wanted to convince them about the need of earthquake preparedness and mock drill for earthquake preparedness in the schools. And we found Taxila Foundation was not only very receptive, but this our initial initiative a few years ago they have taken to a logical end. And if some of you would be very impressed to know that Taxila Foundation has 4 DPS in Patna, Ludhiana, Bangalore, and Coimbatore. And in all the 4 schools, they have made very, very comprehensive school safety program and a school DM plan, disaster management plan. They have also made, for all the 4 schools, comprehensive first aid book in association with the Vivo Healthcare. In addition, in all the 4 schools, they have already made SOPs for all staffs, whether it is a driver or security guard or peon, everyone, for everyone, there is SOP, what he needs to do in the interest of hygiene and safety of the school. Raka mentioned about this, that it's not only children in the schools, and everybody in the school, everybody associated with school must know about it. So this model DM plan that Taxila Foundation has made for schools, model DM plan and first aid book and all, I have been very much impressed, and this needs to be emulated. I've shared with NIDM sometimes back, and I don't know whether this can be, if NIDM feels it can improve upon it, but it can be shared, and the schools which are receptive can make use of it. So, well, in the 2 days program, Dr. Raka mentioned extensively about COVID appropriate behavior, and which is very relevant to break the chain and also to ensure that you are not affected by the 3rd wave. But the point is, and unfortunately, that whatever Dr. Raka may have mentioned is nothing very new. The COVID appropriate behavior, time and again, whether it is on mobile phone, television, is being repeatedly hammered. But the point is, how many people are receptive? Raka talked about how to use masks, but the pity is, and I hope you will agree with me, that in many parts of the country, many people don't even use masks, leave aside using the mask in appropriate manner. So how to enforce that? You may feel that, as I mentioned, that why this training program, what is new about it? Well, this is, even if you feel there's nothing new about it, there are certain issues which need to be hammered so that you comply with it, people comply with it. Now, as I mentioned, that a school child, that 10-year-old child in Himachal was doing, you people can take the message further to see to it that at least the people who are known to you, in your family member, extended family member, they use masks properly in the interest of their own health and the interest of the society. He talked about COVID appropriate behavior, about hand wash. We have all been hearing that hand wash should be for 20 seconds. But let me tell you, I also didn't know, and most of you probably may not have known earlier, why this 20 seconds hand wash, until I heard Dr. Kumar Raka, the explanation, which I was very impressed. And he gave a very good example that in our kitchen, when you use the utensil, if it is ordinary making dal or rice and all that, a small little wash of few seconds, 2-3 seconds, with water, with soap, it gets clean. But if you are using greasy material, then this 1 or 2 seconds wash will not do. You have to wash it properly with soap and with rubbing and all that. It takes time before the utensil is clean. So that is the justification why hand wash should be for 20 seconds, so that you are able to get rid of the infection that you have. Similarly, COVID appropriate behavior. Time and again, this is being hammered about social distancing. But then how many people are abiding by that? Whether it's market or anywhere else, railway station, people don't bother at all about it. So these are the things. Why I mentioned in the beginning that you must be feeling, what is new? Then many things you may feel there's nothing new. But even if it's nothing new, is it being practiced? It is not. So you have to be the messenger to carry it forward in whichever way you can do that. And another very unfortunate thing is that still a section of our people, the people in our country, do not want to get vaccinated. They have some belief or faith and all sorts of rumors. Now, if they don't get vaccinated, they are not only risking their life, but they are risking the lives of other people. How to convince them? Probably, if a child tells such people that Papa, you have got to get vaccinated, it will have better impact than the administration telling them. So this is the importance of CCDRR. In this talk, I must say, Mrs. Namrata Sharma, psychologist, very, very useful and very informative. She touched upon the mental health issue, related issues of children during disaster and after disaster, and also emergencies. She mentioned how children undergo trauma and stress during disasters and after emergency. Now, so she explained also how in the period of disasters, children are subjected to sexual abuse, domestic violence, and many other things. And I don't want to go into detail, but she made some very valuable suggestions how parents can make sure that their children do not suffer in pandemic, etc., by engaging themselves in other activities. So these are some of the very useful input that I found that this course has given. I must say, it's a very comprehensive with very valuable inputs for parents, for teachers, and children. Hope this program has provided you a good insight on a lot of important issues relating to safety and health of children during disasters. NDMA and NIDM and PPF would expect that the takeaway from this program will be disseminated by you in appropriate manner in your areas of activities and with ultimate goal of children being the main beneficiary. So with this, I would like to conclude my well-directed talk, and I would like to thank the NIDM, particularly the AD NIDM, Professor Santosh Kumar, Dr. Raka, Dr. Balu, Dr. Ranjan Kumar, and Ms. Namrata Sharma. I would also like to thank Manika Malhotra for conducting the entire program in a very professional manner. And also lastly, I would like to thank Pooja Kumari, who was behind the screen, but she has been the key organizer of this program. So thank you all. I feel it has, from my angle, it has been a very successful program. It is now for the participants to decide how useful it has been and how you are going to take this message forward. Thank you.
Thank you very much, sir. Actually, Nadia was the coordinator of this program from our side. So,
I didn't know that. My apologies, I didn't know that.
Thank you,
so
sir.
I must, yeah.
So on your behalf also, sir, you kindly allow me, thanks to Nadia also for coordinating the entire program.
Yeah, absolutely. And my apologies also. My apologies also to her.
And here, sir, so I would request Monica to invite Professor Santosh for a few words and introduce Professor Santosh.
Right, so before taking any more time, I would now request...
Introduce again because I was there in
right on the first
program, so don't waste
Over
time.
to you, sir. I hand over the platform to you. Thank you.
Thank you very much, and I'm indeed grateful to Sri Kem Singh ji, but I could not make it on that particular date when he was speaking because of some, we say that turbulent flight, it was turbulent website, so that was that internet connection. So we could not speak also on the first day because of these technical glitch and the challenges which we had. So first of all, let me welcome and also thank Sri Kem Singh ji and the whole team of PPF, Manika and Pooja and all, for actually being part of this program, and from our side as Nazia, Dr. Raka, and Mr. Ranjan and Balu. It's always been pleasure to listen to Sri Kem Singh ji. One, that he speaks from the heart, and also a lot of wisdom which he carries with himself. And the kind of positions he has been, and the kind of simplicity which he possesses, and the kind of wisdom he shares with the participants in a very, very kind of a lucid manner. So that is the beauty, and that is why we say that Government of India very rightly chosen for the Netaji Subhash Chandra award for his contribution. One, that making transformational change. We say that we always strive for transformation. And the time has come for making transformation in the sector. And so NDRF, which we say angel in the orange, is always a transformation in the response system in the country. Now his zeal is into two things which I can quote, and where we can see that child-centric DRR are getting benefited out of it. One is the passion for livestock, that animal. That animal doesn't speak, but even if you look at in their eyes, that you will find the volume of dialogues which they do, they keep doing. But we hardly have time to actually see them and converse with them. So his passion for the another is this livestock. And now we are talking about the child-centric disaster risk reduction. So when NIDM thought of making such kind of a beginning in the child-centric DRR, I remember and I can recall when I was working in Rajasthan, and then almost 25 years ago. And that time when we started a school safety program in Rajasthan, that time the support was given again by UNICEF, and that's what I'm recalling that. And again, child-centric DRR is supported by UNICEF. So I see that decadal this time travel, 20 years from there to now. There we used to have a lot of kind of innovations in the school by the children, how the children can learn in the pedagogy and andragogy. Today, what Mr. Kem Singh ji was telling, that when we are speaking to children, and the school was referring to some examples that how beautifully they are brought in the handbook and all. So there we can draw some analogy that why we did this program and where we should go from here to that. I always say that the children who are the occupants of this country is a 40%, almost 45 or 50 crores of population. And we are taking them for granted, and we are developing the world the way we wish to develop. So they are hardly into kind of a dialogue, the policymakers dialogue or the institutions dialogue or the programmatic dialogues with the children. Like suppose when we construct a house, that we have a constant dialogue with the engineer and also that occupant who wish to have this. And there, where the large number of years the children have to spend in this world, they do not know, because of their elders, they are going into much more riskier world rather than a safer world. So this is the challenge, and we have to introspect as an elder that what kind of a thing which we have been building for them, and whether they have been asked or they have been shared their dialogue. We see that wisdom lies with us. Children are children. Bacche to bacche hi hai. And very beautifully, this brought this example from Himachal, that how one coming to the mask issue, and then how one children. And similar example is coming from tsunami also, that one child came and she was taught in the school that how tsunami, and she could save the whole of the people who were there at the sea when she saw the seas receding inside. So she knew that tsunami is coming, and she gave that information to the people. So meaning thereby that adults, we are very casual in taking and receiving this information, and children, they take everything seriously, mostly. So the idea is to how to build a good kind of a citizen by interacting with them in any of the programs which we are designing. We see that yes, child safety is important, but it's important, and they also agree for that it's important. But how that can be made actually possible, there probably they will have better idea than what we have. So what I'm saying is that children must be given some space in the planning process, and their voices must be heard. I always say that for any disaster we start planning, we must listen to the voices of the dead. And the voices of the dead in the sense that how person died and why that person died. And if we go from there, I always keep giving this example also, that when I lost my elder brother due to COVID-19, and we were struggling for pillar to the post for where to get information, how to get the RT-PCR done, how to, and the hospitals were actually not acknowledging the patient, they were not giving anything. So the readiness of the hospital, and then once you are entering the, get the bed in the hospital, then inside there you are not being access. So the plight was there that then we looked at that what kind of a system we have been able to build, taking such kind of example. And when he died, and we go on into the introspection from dead body to that the first day of the ailment. And that's what we say that it is very, very important in the disaster scenario also. When we say that large number of children are dying. So what are the things which is forcing them to die at a very early age? They have not lived their life fully, and they are dying due to disaster. And that they are not actually responsible for that. We are, in fact, we are responsible for that. Our forefathers have been responsible for that. Our forefather did not do anything. They created certain risk. We perpetuated certain risks. And then so other, if we are not educating them, they will further perpetuate that. And once, like today, we are talking about pollution in Delhi. And pollution in Delhi is perpetuated by us. The children are not perpetuating. We have moved from our own life and lifestyle and system. So we need everything for our luxury, and now that luxury is becoming pain for us. So that we did not realize that. So what I'm saying is that's what Sri Kem Singh ji said, saying that I fully endorse that point, that how the children can be seen as a guardian of the future, and that guardian of the future will become only when they have the kind of a space given in the planning process. Always seen whenever, like when we see that children, they are being raped in these schools. So what kind of a moral we are setting in the as an adult, as a senior citizen of the family, to them. Children are going for their school, they are asking to stay back there, and children are being raped by the teachers and all that. What are the morality which we have in the, so there we find that the riskier life we are making for them. And that is a kind of a, when we talk about school safety, this should be also included in the school safety format. It's a bigger disaster than the disaster which is coming from the external factor, which is we are interfacing on a day-to-day basis. The same teacher eyes would be very critical, and same fellow colleague of the eyes would be much more dangerous than the, so when we said that 50 crores of the population children and half of them are girl child. So why girl child are becoming one? What kind of education system we have that still the preferences for the girl child is not there, and we think that male child is there and they are the custodian of the whole world. There we need to actually hammer much more in terms of making attitudinal changes. So there the first and foremost responsibility, we said that for the upbringing of the children comes from the family and the school. We do not glorify that the kind of a bad thing which is happening in the country. We should start looking and at that in a, so the disaster management should not be seen as an isolation of the social activities which are going on. So in the school safety format, in the child-centric disaster risk reduction, I would suggest this social cultural reality must have been thrashed out properly. And that is very well, we feel pained. I'm saying an anguish that why, what kind of a society we always keep hammering that our culture was so rich, we are so rich in heritage and we so and so, and what I'm saying. But every day, all the data is not actually approving that what we are saying. So data is going against that. So what I'm saying that is school safety and the children's safety, the disaster safety, we need to, in this, especially in the format of the children's safety, we need to extend our definition also. We cannot think of only the any disaster which is happening and the natural calamity, and then we should protect our children. So we should start protecting and providing shield and capacity to the children so that they can, they are not secure with the elder generation. So the elder generation have not done justice to the coming generations which are coming. So what I was just to recommend here in this training program, that how collectively we can engage in the dialogue with all stakeholders, where we can really make life of the children conducive. Reduction, vulnerability reduction should be priority. We can teach them Maharaja Shivaji ne kya kiya. We can teach them Akbar ne kya kiya. We can teach them Nalanda ka itihas kya tha. But we are not teaching that what our fellow colleagues are thinking about ourselves. We are not teaching them that what should be the appropriate behavior in the school, what would be the appropriate behavior in the of the teacher, what would be the appropriate behavior of the this fellow colleague and the school children, what would be the appropriate behavior of the society. So that we need to come out also and extend the appropriate COVID behavior to the appropriate social behavior, appropriate colleagues behavior, so appropriate disaster behavior. That's all needed. We have to think through, and probably otherwise we will make children's life much more riskier. We do not know how would be and how big risk they would be carrying on their shoulder, but for that they are not responsible. It is us. We have to introspect. Thank you very much. I would be really I see really pain when seeing this newspaper article today and yesterday also. I was thinking that what for we are having child-centric DRR, unless and until we start addressing these issues as well. We can't think in isolation of each other. So that has to be holistically. Thank you very much. And once again, I would be sending my heartfelt thanks and grateful to K.M. Singh ji, who has always been inspiring. We always see as a role model to him. Thank you very much, sir, for PPA Foundation and your blessings.
Professor Santosh, with your permission and permission of Raka and Manika, can I take 1 more minute?
You are always welcome, sir. This always welcome.
Well, I can't help responding to what Professor Santosh said. Well, first of all, I must thank you. Very nice concluding talk. But what makes me to respond is the compliments. Am I audible?
Yes, sir, perfectly audible.
Yeah. What compelled me to take 1 more extra minute is the compliments that Professor Santosh paid to me. I felt humbled. And since he did that, I may like to share a secret. Coming from police background in 2005, September, when I was made member NDMA, member of the National Disaster Management Authority, I may tell you, I did not know even the alphabet of disaster management. And I wanted to learn. And being member of the India International Center, I found in the month of September, just before I joined, that there was a talk on the disaster management by someone known Santosh Kumar, whom I didn't know. And I went to the India International Center and heard his talk for 1 hour. And that was my ingratiation in the field of disaster management. So whatever Professor Santosh may say, and I said, but you will agree with me that he is my guru in the field of disaster management. Thank you, Professor Santosh Kumar.
We always learn from you. We always
thank you. Thank you all. Very useful.
Thank you so much, Kem sir and Professor Kumar.
I just want to say one word.
Sure,
I'm
sir, please.
fortunate enough that Kem Singh sir was my first guru and Professor Santosh Kumar is my second guru. So I would like to fulfill your aspirations, sir, in the future in the DRR of this country. Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you,
Thank
Kem
you.
sir and Professor Kumar, for summing up the entire 3 days program in a very precise manner. The need, the purpose, and the desired outcome in terms of improved understanding and knowledge creation. Thank you so much for highlighting the role of children in DRR and sharing examples about the role of children in awareness creation and disaster preparedness and risk reduction. Indeed, a dose of motivation for all our participants. So as we bring our online training program to a close, I would again like to thank our esteemed patrons, speakers for their immense efforts and contribution in making this 3 days program a success. It was our deepest pleasure to listen to all of you and equip ourselves on the crucial subject of concern. I hope and believe that this program has helped our participants to achieve a clearer perspective and understanding on child-centric disaster risk reduction. I would also appreciate and thank our audience for their positive participation and consistent engagement. As I had earlier mentioned, I hope that we absorb and retain the necessary information acquired in these 3 days and also serve the larger purpose of educating others about the same. I would like to convey to our participants that if you have any query or any feedback, you're most welcome to reach out to us at policyperspective@gmail.com, and we'll try to channelize your queries to the speakers and get back to you in due course. We hope you all have had a valuable learning experience with us, and thank you for attending. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, Buddy.
Thank you, sir. Thank you, sir, once again. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank
Thank you,
you.
sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, Pooja. Thank you, Pooja.